#fun. Use the #fun if you think For Fun's going to be able to take it. The gates open now.
I know we're talking about diversifying for Super Frogs, but I believe back in 2015 when Cubsy and Wealthy Man were on Cloud 9 formerly with Roasties on their team, they won the North American Championship that year with Rogue Mage Druid. So Cubsy and Wealthy Man are not, it's an unknown composition to them. So they can take Chun-Li on, and he's been playing a melee class most of the time, and it plays similarly to Windwalker and Rogue. We see opening pressure on Omnivore as he is the primary target. Good crowd control so far onto Whoopi. They've managed to pull Omnivore's trinket. That's an opening for a smoke bomb attempt later on.
We'll have to see. Whoopi has very good positioning normally in matchups. Definitely going to be watching him in these games to make plays. I would regard him as one of the best Mistweaver monks in the entire game. Pushing in, getting an incapacity over on the Cubsy. Chun-Li having to trinket out and use that evasion very early on. Rosita Jones and Omnivore pulling out some defensive cooldowns from Super Frogs.
All right, Whoopi playing that relentless. He's caught into a full blind. Omnivore in defensive stance. Crowd control on Rosita, but they need to get a sap out of this blind. Warbanner was down. They're not able to get the sap. It's definitely a bit of a throwaway there by Chun-Li, although nice read by Omnivore to try and predict that sap with Warbanner and break it up. Whoopi pops way at the crane, so he's playing a very aggressive build, but gets caught by a polymorph. Nice punish by Wealthy Man.
Yeah, Whoopi's going to be caught into that polymorph, not be able to help out his team with damage, but luckily for him, really no one's taking pressure. Rosita Jones getting bursted down a little bit here. Cubsy moving in for an offensive Cyclone, manages to find it onto Whoopi. Maybe Super Frogs can start to land some pressure, but they just can't find the damage we'd normally see from Rogue Mage.
I think it's important to know that Rosita Jones was in the finals of Blizzcon last year, and he kind of took a break in the middle of this year, and he's back in BFA, and he's playing for fun in this tournament, but he's still a contender to keep your eyes on. Whoopi was only, I believe, a game away from qualifying to BlizzCon last year, and Omnivore is a multi-rank 1 ladder warrior, so if For Fun picks up a 4th member moving into the future, obviously they can't earn enough points to qualify to BlizzCon, but this is a good opportunity for them to practice. Nice crowd control initiation by the Super Frogs, locking down the entire team of For Fun. Omnivore is being greedy in this position, not trading out cooldowns. I think there might have been a bit of a technical issue there. It seems like a complete throwaway. If it wasn't, Super Frogs are going to lead 1-0.
That's like a mage not pop an ice block kind of situation.
A good job defensively as well while dishing out that pressure.
They were able to melt the armor off of the warrior last time. Let's see if they're going to be able to find another victory here. The Super Frogs lead by 1.
This is a good start for the Super Frogs with triple crowd control initiated. Wealthy Man moving in position. Ice form popped. He can do a lot of damage off the back of this. Omnivore trades Die by the Sword immediately in response to the Super Frogs all-in tactic that will allow him to survive in this situation, but once again opens him up to Smoke Bomb. Basically, if he moves too far away from Whoopi, what will happen is Chun-Li will stun him, drop a Smoke Bomb. Anyone outside the Smoke Bomb cannot interact to anyone inside of it. So Omnivore needs to stay close to Whoopi to deny that opening.
Yeah, and For Fun, obviously, they chose Dalaran Sewers as their map. That's going to allow them to have more uptime on Wealthy Man and Cubsy if they want to make swaps, as well as utilize these small boxes that you can see to line of sight some of the mage damage coming in from a Wealthy Man.
All right, we see crowd control initiated on Whoopi. He wanted to go for an incapacitate on that spell-reflected Cyclone, but got denied by Cubsy's bash. Now Omnivore's on the run. Heroic leaps to the portal of Whoopi, so this little green thing right there. Whoopi can move back and portal to that like he just did to get in line of sight, but he gets kicked by Chun-Li. Nice reaction. Whoopi forced to use leg sweep defensively. They would like to use these stuns on the Rogue to force pressure and get a trinket, but when he's interrupted, he doesn't have many options, so he used the stun to deny damage and recover. It's going to put him behind. Cubsy's leading on mana.
Yeah, and you can tell Cubsy and Wealthy Man, they are on point with their crowd control. Rosita Jones really hasn't been able to put out too much pressure. Finally, a Stormbolt out on Wealthy Man, incapacitated on Cubsy. This could be the first ice block as Wealthy Man gets lower and lower. Blinks away to safety with a kidney shot on Omnivore from Chun-Li. Wealthy Man, though, playing it a little greedy. That was the Ascendance from Rosita Jones, almost taking him down before he could get the ice block off. Luckily, he managed to pull out that cooldown and survive, but that's a small victory for For Fun.
Basically, Ascendance for Rosita Jones. He's looking to force ice block every time with it. This is a 3-minute cooldown, so roughly after 9-minute mark, I would say is where For Fun are looking to kill the mage, which is normally why the mage isn't the kill target. You'd much rather go after the rogue, who only has trinket evasion. So going after the mage is an interesting decision here. We saw a lot of teams just going after the rogue. It means that they're playing for a very, very long game. We see Cubsy moving in, Super Frogs initiating crowd control onto the entire team. They need to make sure that Rosita can't support. If Rosita Jones is able to toss out healing surges such as this, Omnivore is going to bounce back on health quite easily. Cubsy now caught in crowd control. Whoopi with Way of the Crane available. Could dish out a ton of pressure. He's holding on to it. It costs a lot of mana. He's likely wanting to time it with Mana Tea, as we saw earlier, as Venruki pointed out. But Counterspell, the Counterspell is really the game-winning play here by Wealthy Man, interrupting Whoopi, denying the heals. In the Cyclone at low HP, you can really tell that Cubsy and Wealthy Man are veterans on this Mage Druid synergy.
Uh-oh, Whoopi caught into a full blind. Rosita Jones all alone. He gets the Astral Shift. He needs to get out of line of sight. Tosses himself a heal. Whoopi might be able to throw out some heals now, but he's susceptible to the kick. That's one of the things about the Mistweaver Monk, is they are so susceptible to the counter spells, to the Shadow Step kicks. If they get interrupted, it's going to be easy for Super Frogs to take someone down. Now Rosita Jones in a situation, he has no trinket, no Astral Shift. Whoopi, he's playing Relentless, so there's a huge opportunity here for Super Frogs to land crowd control, and Whoopi can't get out of it because he's playing Relentless, and take down Rosita Jones.
All right, let's look at the situation here. They still need to try and force a second ice block if they're going to go after Wealthy Man. They likely are going after Chun-Li, as he's used evasion and vanish. He's the most vulnerable target in this position. Cubsy charging at Rosita, trying to allow him to not move. Maybe look for a Cyclone. He fake casts the Wind Shear. Rosita Jones grounds the Cyclone, but another counter spell by Wealthy Man. Perfect timing to try and get some pressure here on Omnivore. Unfortunately, with no crowd control on Rosita, he's able to support and allow them to recover. Cubsy caught into a Stormbolt. Whoopi moving in. He might pop Way of the Crane and go for an all-in on Cubsy, but now he's overextended. He's exposed to crowd control. This could be dangerous if he gets locked down in a Polymorph. He's got Way of the Crane, but he's forced to run away, and this is why Way of the Crane is so dangerous to use against a mage. You can just walk into crowd control so easily, and it costs a lot of mana. He's falling behind. Cubsy not too far ahead, luckily, though, if they try to play for the late game. I would still like to see them do Incapacitates on the Druid, Stormbolt on the Rogue, Leg Sweep on the Druid, just play a classic setup, Wind Shear the Polymorph from the Turbo. They're not really initiating any sort of crowd control setups, and they're kind of just playing it almost lazily. We've got Ascendance coming up in 15 seconds, and they need to make a play with it.
Yeah, they do. Chun-Li looking for some damage here onto Omnivore right now with the Shadow Step Kidney Shot behind the pillar. Just trying to protect Cubsy a little bit, as he was forced out to trade his Bark Skin and Iron Bark in that situation. Vendetta's going to be pulled out by Chun-Li as well, but it seems like Omnivore, he's going to be completely fine. Whoopi's there to just throw out heals when he needs it, and really Super Frogs weren't able to pull out any sort of defensive cooldowns with that major offense coming in from that Vendetta.
The other thing is Omnivore has decided to play Gnome. So as a Gnome, you can get out of roots every minute with the Racial, but Dark Iron Dwarf, I think, would be much superior if they're playing this defensive strategy. We see double stun lock combos by For Fun, but they're chasing down Wealthy Man. They need to get an ice block with this Ascendance that's available. They're holding on to it. They're actually making a swap to Whoopi, trying to catch him off guard, but he preemptively activated his defensive cooldown, reduced a lot of damage, and was able to easily recover through that. That was a nice read by Whoopi on the swap. Rosita Jones actually getting caught in Hibernate on Ghost Wolf. Bit of a misplay. Now getting Entangling Rooted. Cubsy taking Rosita out of the match for quite some time. Finally reconnecting to Wealthy Man. Nice knock. Nice Ring of Peace. Wealthy Man out of line of sight of Cubsy. Whoopi moving in. Does he have any crowd control for Cubsy? Doesn't look like it, and without that cross crowd control, Cubsy denies the kill with a well-timed Iron Bark.
That Wealthy Man going to be completely fine. Chun-Li, once again, just putting out the consistent pressure on Rosita Jones and Omnivore. Dampening has now just kicked in, and Cubsy, with the way he's positioned, it's going to be easy for him to run away and get drinks. Rosita Jones and Omnivore need to make sure that they're continuing pressure. They need to have pressure on Chun-Li and Wealthy Man, so Cubsy can't afford to run away, sit down, regenerate his mana. Now Whoopi, you can see him repositioning his port, trying to play on top of Cubsy. Manages to land the Incapacitate. I don't think there's a follow-up leg sweep. Gets it onto Chun-Li, but now Cubsy's free to basically do whatever he wants.
Yeah, For Fun are just playing very passively. Whoopi's doing a good job of reading the incoming crowd control in this situation. He activated this Life Cocoon green shield on Omnivore and just soaks up all the damage. And so he saw crowd control coming. He activates the defensive 1 second before it happens. Wealthy Man under fire. This Ascendance needs to get a block, and it's looking like it might be able to. They really need to get an ice block so they can win on the 9-minute timer. They're not getting it, and that means they have to go for another 6 minutes if they want to keep going after the Mage. And I feel like the Rogue is just a better target. He had no trinket. They could have gone for a Stormbolt Ascendance, and the target selection for Fun and the crowd control from their team is lacking, even though the defensive play is great.
Yeah, Whoopi still at a good position right now. Moving in once again, gets the Incapacitate onto Cubsy. Wealthy Man still low. No Iron Bark going to be available for Cubsy. If Omnivore can get there and they can continue this damage, they might be able to take Wealthy Man down, but Cubsy denies with a Cyclone on Rosita Jones. He's got no trinket, and that is just the power of the Mage Druid CC. If Cubsy can get out these consistent Cyclones that we know him for, it's going to be so difficult for Rosita Jones and Omnivore to actually close out this game.
I really like Whoopi's Ring of Pieces on this map, locking Chun-Li out of the fight for a couple of seconds there, allowing his team to get some uptime on Wealthy Man, but uptime on a Frost Mage is short-lived as Wealthy Man immediately Cone of Colds and starts to kite away. Cubsy's crossing the map. Looks like they're trying to get some crowd control going here shortly, but they need to be careful. Cubsy crossing. If they can cross crowd control the whole team, they definitely could take Rosita down with no trinket, or even go after Omnivore with no dab by the sword. There's 2 openings. Whoopi's going to have to predict that on 2 targets, which is incredibly difficult to do. Wealthy Man Ice Form rolling. He wants to do big damage, but Cubsy's not moving in for crowd control. This Ice Form is basically wasted, or Cubsy's trying to go for a drink. Wealthy Man was trying to counter pressure them away. I'm curious to see how much mana he actually got at the end of that exchange. Doesn't appear to be too much, and Whoopi can maintain his mana if he avoids using Way of the Crane. He's trying to sit down for a drink. He needs to be careful to not get sapped by Chun-Li. Chun-Li went for the Vanish, but wasn't able to get in line of sight. Instead, now going for crowd control. Nice counter spell by Wealthy Man once again onto Whoopi, interrupting the incoming heals, trying to force a trinket, but just not enough damage.
Yeah, now that Chun-Li has no Vanish, it's going to be much easier for Whoopi to escape, get out of combat, and there's no threat of that sap a little bit later on. So if Rosita Jones and Omnivore, they can play passive, they can play safe, this is a good opportunity for Whoopi to actually regen his mana. I think he did sit down for a drink, getting huge amounts of mana back, and this is really, really important at this point in dampening, as he's going to have to spend a lot of mana to keep his team healed up when the healing reduction is just so strong. But a full blind on Whoopi. Omnivore could be in a lot of trouble right now. Polymorph. Omnivore needs to not be afraid to use cooldowns, uses the Rallying Cry, try to keep himself alive. Life Cocoon comes in at the nick of time from Whoopi. That should be enough to stabilize him, but a nice offensive Cyclone coming in from Cubsy will deny any incoming heals from Whoopi.
I believe that was War Bannered by Omnivore. Nice job reducing that incoming crowd control so Whoopi can connect heals. He's got Way of the Crane. Way of the Crane is another alternative to Ascendance to try and force ice blocks. Unfortunately, Whoopi normally can't get uptime, but he is getting a lot in this position. He's trying to line of sight the clone. He Ring of Pieces it. Now Chun-Li is falling behind. I like that. Just switch to the Rogue when he's got no trinket. He's a very vulnerable target, but with crowd control secured by Wealthy Man onto 2 members, Omnivore is in the 3-on-1. Rosita gets cycloned by Cubsy. Shadow Step kick. Great crowd control from the Super Frogs, but they need more damage if they're going to take Omnivore down. They got an 11-second window to try and push him over the edge, but I don't think they've got enough damage to do it, and suddenly Whoopi's ahead on mana, and we move deeper into dampening. It's going to become more and more difficult for Cubsy to keep his team alive.
Yeah, and Chun-Li's going to be more and more of a vulnerable target as well. No trinket. If they can get a Stormbolt or a Light Sweep on him, one nice swap. You can see Rosita Jones. He has the Ascendance. He pulls the trigger on it, trying to take down Wealthy Man, forcing out the second Ice Block of the game. Might just be able to solo get it as Cubsy's looking for a drink. Wealthy Man trades out the Ice Block, but Cubsy's going to be able to regenerate a lot of his mana, getting out of combat. So it's a decent trade from Super Frogs, but that's a scary thing to do at this point in dampening.
All right, they pull evasion from Chun-Li. They switch targets. Wealthy Man and Ice Block is immune to damage, so they switch to the Rogue, dish a ton of damage to him, and get an evasion as well. So it's a 2-for-1 Ascendance. That was a high-value Ascendance. The next one in 3 minutes needs to win the game if they don't manage to get a kill before that point. Both healers have almost reset their mana pools by drinking. That's going to extend the fight for a little bit longer. I would like to see a Way of the Crane attempt by Whoopi to try and push Chun-Li over the edge. They got a couple more seconds on Chun-Li's trinket. They've got good crowd control on Cubsy. He's likely to have to trinket this. They're actually going after Wealthy Man, and I don't like this. He's still got a second Ice Block. Chun-Li had no trinket in that position, and every time they've got this opening, they just don't take it. They're playing for the more standard target, but I feel like they could have ended this minutes ago if they were just going after Chun-Li instead.
Yeah, they might just want to force Wealthy Man into sort of a defensive position, but I don't know if that's going to work out. Full Ray of Frost gets channeled out on Omnivore with the Polymorph on Whoopi. Is going to be able to get out of that. Has a Life Cocoon. Dive of the Sword gets traded out by Omnivore with a counterspell onto Whoopi. This is very scary for fun. Full blind now. Omnivore's in a lot of trouble. Rosita Jones has to help him out, but he's caught into the Cyclone. Whoopi might get out of some CC right now. That was a nice defensive fear from Omnivore, forcing Chun-Li off of him and allowing Whoopi enough time to top him off with the Way of the Crane. Nice Ring of Peace once again. He's been doing a good job in this matchup, denying the cast from Cubsy, now into the Incapacitate. Rosita Jones, Omnivore looking for some pressure onto Wealthy Man, but he's doing a good job kiting with the Blizzards, with the Roots, with the Cone of Colds. Now that they have a little bit more uptime, they might be able to force out that final Ice Block of the game.
All right, another counter spell by Wealthy Man. At this point, I've lost track how many counter spells he's actually landed. It's definitely high-level play. You can win the game off of that. Normally, you'd win with polymorphs, but counter spell is a great option as well. A little bit more difficult to secure as your opponents can fake cast it quite frequently. But in this matchup, Wealthy Man is definitely on fire, and even one counter spell at 40% dampening can just eradicate the team. Rosita gets cloned up. No control on Whoopi, though. And they need to look to try and rotate that as soon as possible. Whoopi's been doing a good job, but the counterspell again secured. They swap to Rosita and a smoke bomb with no trinket. If they can burst him down in this timer, they could just take him out. Dampening is so high, healing is reduced by so much that it's going to be difficult. Rosita just needs to hang on a bit longer. He's got that Ascendance, his most powerful offensive cooldown in 30 more seconds. But at this point, there's an ice block. There's an evasion to deny the kill, and their target selection has just been so awful this game that I don't actually see an opportunity for fun.
Yeah, Whoopi had to commit a lot there. He used the Life Cocoon, used the Way of the Crane, smartly ran into the Frozen Orb, so he could use his Way of the Crane without any sort of threat of blind or polymorph coming in from Chun-Li or Wealthy Man, so that was very nicely done by Whoopi. Ports away on top of Cubsy. Cubsy immediately lands a bash, potentially into a full Cyclone, and now once again, Rosita Jones and Omnivore are vulnerable, but they have nice pressure onto Wealthy Man. Might be able to force out that ice block as he gets out almost into execute range. Cubsy being greedy, not throwing out the Iron Bark whatsoever, but nice crowd control onto Rosita Jones and Omnivore. Now Wealthy Man caught into the Stormbolt. They have uptime. There's the Ascendance. Ice Block gets forced out. They need to turn their attention to Chun-Li. He uses the evasion, wants to avoid as much damage as possible. Both healers are not doing well on mana, and we are at 50% dampening.
All right, so they trade 1-for-1 on the Ascendance, and that kind of denies the burst unless they can connect to Wealthy Man. Wealthy Man needs to kite. He blinks away. He needs to avoid Rosita Jones as long as possible. He's got Ice Form, though. He wants to counter pressure. Omnivore doesn't have Die by the Sword if he can get some cast off, but he's just not able to. For fun, finally getting some uptime here on Wealthy Man. Nice win here on Cubsy. He's almost completely tapped on mana. 50%. Nice triple fear. That's going to close the game out. Perfect timing from Omnivore. I can't help but feel that they could have done that sooner. Maybe they just wanted to focus on playing safe and playing for the long game, but I think for Jamili's team in the lower bracket still alive in the tournament, so Super Frogs cannot afford to be eliminated in this cup. They didn't make top 8 in the last one. Now they're barely hanging on. They need to clean up their cross crowd control if they want to initiate a kill. This large map will allow them to do that much more easily and much more often because it exposes Whoopi. In this position, we see Wealthy Man dragging the melee classes far into the open. Whoopi has to cross the map down center field, and then the team of the Super Frogs can pounce on him when he's in the open.
Yep, that is true. I'll have to see what Chun-Li decides to do. Looking like he wanted to open up onto Whoopi, but Whoopi shut that down immediately with a nice incapacitate. Chun-Li getting swapped to. A lot of pressure very early on, and this is what we're talking about. A Warrior Enhancement Shaman, they do tremendous burst to an Assassination Wave. They can get on Wealthy Man, force Cubsy to put hots onto him. Then, when they're making their way to Wealthy Man, they just put pressure onto Chun-Li. It'll force him into a defensive position, especially if the game gets extended later into dampening.
That's definitely the best strategy for the Warrior Enhancement is attack one target while walking to another. You can build pressure on the rogue while forcing the mage to move at the same time when you do that. Rather than only going after the mage and never hitting anyone else, it's the easiest move for fun to heal through if you're playing like that. Wealthy Man under fire here. Ascendance pops. So this Ascendance needs to get ice blocks. They've got good crowd control. I like to switch to Chun-Li. They should be going after him instead. Bursting him down and getting evasion. That's a much more vulnerable target. He's always in a great position, but now Wealthy Man reverses the pressure with a nicely timed counterspell. You can never count the Super Frogs out when Wealthy Man's on their roster.
Yeah, these counterspells are just coming in so clutch from Wealthy Man. Just really high-level gameplay, putting Whoopi behind. There's the blind sap onto Whoopi, though. Rosita Jones in a lot of trouble with a polymorph over on Omnivore. Cubsy pushing in, wants to follow up the CC if he can. Full bash into Cyclone. Rosita Jones tries to shut it down, but Cubsy fakes it. Whoopi then ports away. Nicely done. Rosita Jones gets stopped off by Whoopi, but one of the main struggles for Super Frogs in this matchup is the fact that Rosita Jones on the enhancement Sean, they have so much off healing. That off healing is very powerful. So if they want to take down Omnivore, they have to make sure they've locked both Whoopi and Rosita Jones out of the game. They want to take down Rosita Jones, they have to make sure that they're interrupting him. He's caught in the stuns, because if he's not, he's going to be able to kite away, throw out some instant heals on himself, and it's just very difficult to take an enhancement shaman down.
I really want to see when Whoopi decides to make a move with Way of the Crane, so it allows him to access a huge boost of damage. Not a lot of healers get that access, and it can almost turn your team into triple DPS, but the downside is that you have to be in melee range, and against a Frost Mage, that's already fairly difficult, and you're going to get polymorphed in Cyclone. So Whoopi has to pick his moments to activate this powerful spell, and so far he's not found any opportunities this match, and he really needs to start doing it if he wants to put his team ahead, or also just playing for the long game, but on a big map that's typically favored to the Frost Mage.
Yeah, what you need to do if you want to use the Way of the Crane is you need to have good communication with your team. Omnivore, he has to have Pummel. Rosita Jones, he needs grounding, he needs Wind Shear. They have to be able to shut down the polymorphs and cyclones like you kind of mentioned. That is going to prevent him from getting that damage out. But if they have all of their tools available to them, that's when Whoopi can really push in and get aggressive with that.
All right, Wealthy Man repositioning, so Whoopi's dragged into center field. Cubsy tries to get in position to Cyclone, but Whoopi dodges it by moving out of range. It's a nice move by him. I like Wealthy Man's kiting. He's going to the corners of the map where there are no pillars so that Rosita and Omnivore don't have a clear retreat path available, and they're either forced to deter off of the mage and hit somebody else or walk into the open and be very exposed to damage. Whoopi's doing a great job on his mana. You can definitely tell that the mana changes have allowed Mistweaver to be more competitive with Resto Druid into the late game, and the Super Frogs can't rely on this passive playstyle. They need to get some setups going.
Yeah, Whoopi, look at him. He's moving into position. He wants to get the incapacitate on Cubsy into a leg sweep, and that's where For Fun can really get aggressive. Cubsy looking for the bash, but he gets incapacitated. Nicely done by Whoopi. There's the follow-up leg sweep, and now Whoopi can basically run away from Cubsy. He got locked out, though. You can see him rolling in, trying to avoid any sort of CC, but he gets caught into the full blind, and now Rosita Jones could be in some trouble. Full Kitty Shot gets activated. He trinkets Astral Shift immediately. DR Polymorph going out onto Whoopi, but I think with those cooldowns Rosita Jones traded out, he's going to be fine, but that's a big victory for Super Frogs. You can see Ice Form's going to be coming up shortly for Wealthy. I mean, actually, I don't even think he's playing Ice Form anymore. He might have abandoned that specialization.
So they're really playing for a sustained long game. I'm not the biggest fan of that. We saw in the EU region with Hong Mage was playing this sustained damage build, and they didn't do anything the whole game. It's very obvious that the Azurite trait that buffs your damage with Ice Form with a huge boost of intellect is usually the go-to for Frost Mage at the moment. We're going to see what they can get done. Obviously, the Icy Veins is still going to be a scary cooldown. It's just not as available as much as often. We see Icy Veins actually popped here and really not getting anything done. They're not properly cross-crowd controlled. They're finally some cross-crowd control with Whoopi counterspell, Rosita cycloned. They really want to pull a die by the sword in this position, but they're not finding it.
Maybe Wealthy Man feels like it's the enrage he needs a little bit later on the game to close out, but there's no real downside to playing the Ice Form build with Frigid Grasp. It's undispellable. You use the Ice Form, you get the intellect for 20 seconds, and there's nothing really the enemy team can do about it. So definitely I feel like it's a questionable spec decision from Wealthy Man, but there's got to be a reason why he's opted out of it. Now Chun-Li looking for a little bit of pressure, but honestly, Super Frogs, they haven't really been able to find too much damage. They've had a couple good setups, but Rosita Jones, Omnivore, they aren't under the same pressure we saw in the last two games.
I mean, both teams are just playing this matchup very slowly. They're not really trying to initiate or overextend or expose themselves. So when both teams play in a neutral position with the Frostmage snares and the enhancement off healing, it's very difficult for either team to get anything going. Nice read by Whoopi, preemptively activating that life cocoon again 1 second before the crowd control hit him. That was a nice read. It allows his team to comfortably sit through crowd control. Now they can start getting aggressive. They've managed to bait Chun-Li to use Feint. They could go after him with a Stormbolt here with Warbreaker Avatar. Omnivore has a big combo of damage available. Curious to see who he decides to pop it on. Lands a double Warbreaker. That's going to boost his damage quite a lot. Wealthy Man under fire. He gets pummeled. Dangerously low. He's trying to hold on with the temp shield. A very greedy play, but he gets away with it.
Yeah, high-level decision there. Rosita Jones, Astral Shift gets traded out once again with full blind over on Whoopi. Omnivore caught into the Cyclone. Nice triple CC coming in. Vanish Sap from Chun-Li. Rosita Jones all alone, but they haven't been able to pull out any sort of damage just yet. Omnivore throws a Stormbolt onto Wealthy Man. He gets reflected on his Polymorph. Omnivore basically solo CCing Wealthy Man, just not allowing him to get any sort of burst out on that go, and now that blind was essentially wasted.
Looks like they're going after Cubsy maybe. Whoopi and Rosita are going after him a little bit, trying to maybe create some split pressure. That could be a way for them to win on mana in the late game against a Resto Druid, hitting multiple targets, so he has to apply Rejuvenation to multiple targets, costs him a lot of mana. He has to switch Life Bloom. That's going to put him very far behind. It's definitely a viable strategy to split, but I would have much rather them just stuck to the strategy they had at the start of the game. Attack Chun-Li while walking at Wealthy Man. That has to be the best strategy overall. Instead, Omnivore's just gunning down Wealthy Man and ignoring Chun-Li, and that buys time for Evasion to come back up, that buys time for Trinkets to come back up, and For Fun just keep missing windows. We're gonna have to see how it plays out deep into Dampening. For Fun was able to take it on Dalaran, but on a large map like this, where Whoopi overextends, he's exposed a lot more. I'm not sure if it'll be the same case.
And you can see Whoopi once again, he just wants to shut down any sort of drinks Cubsy. When he creates that large amount of distance, it's likely he wants to try to get out of combat. I don't know if he can. Wealthy Man getting low activates the Temporal Shield. Whoopi's doing a good job of his positioning in this game, making sure when he pushes in, he's not susceptible to crowd control, always relaying his port, so it's in a safe spot for him to get away from any sort of cast that Wealthy Man gets off. And these large pillars can actually sometimes backfire for the Rogue Mage when they're kiting, especially for the Whistleblower Monk. He can use those pillars to line of sight any sort of blink counter spells, and if Wealthy Man does decide to pull the trigger with that, then he is sort of locked behind this pillar where Omnivore, he's very susceptible to the melee damage from Omnivore and Rosita Jones.
Whoopi tried to make a play there, moving in and leg sweeping Wealthy Man, managed to at least get his trinket moving into deep dampening, but Whoopi is now heavily far behind him, man. The big map is playing dividends here for Super Frogs. Cubsy can easily get away, drink, and regenerate all of his mana and continue healing late into the match. If Whoopi does that, he doesn't have heal over time effects healing his targets while he's running and drinking, so they're very vulnerable. Good crowd control by the Super Frogs, but not finding even an Astral Shift off the back of this. The nice kidney shot. This could be a nice punish. He can activate Astral Shift in this stun lock, but he may be able to just survive at the end of it. Dampening not high enough really to push Rosita over the edge. Whoopi ducks behind the corner. Should be able to pick up Rosita quite rapidly. Ascendance available. This is when they need to start pinning ice blocks or going after Chun-Li. Chun-Li has no trinket. To me, this is the clearest cut to victory. Whoopi rolls in, incapacitates Cubsy, Stormbolt Chun-Li, Windsure Poly, Chun-Li dies. It just seems so basic in this position, but they're so reluctant to do it. They're just playing so passively. Ascendance gets popped. Where's the crowd control on Cubsy? Where's the Stormbolt? They're not going for it. They're just snared up by Frozen. Omnivore leaps over, but there's still no Stormbolt. There's the Stormbolt, but it's seconds too late. There's the Incapacitate, but that's seconds too late, and Wealthy Man easily survives.
Yeah, definitely a missed opportunity there for fun. They just really want to keep the pressure on the mage. Finally, Chun-Li getting swapped to. Cubsy responds with the Iron Bar. Chun-Li throwing out the feint as well to reduce some of that incoming damage. It's not as powerful as it was in Legion because it does have a cooldown, so you have to time it just a little bit better, that damage reduction from the Assassination Rogue, but you can see Super Frogs looking for another setup with a bash over on a Whoopi. Rosita Jones taking some pressure, but unfortunately Wealthy Man not able to really get out that much damage.
Counter spell again by Wealthy Man. This deep into dampening, this could be dangerous. Whoopi moves in, though. He can activate Way of the Crane while interrupted, which is one advantage, but he's not Way of the Craning during that. They could have got a block here. They might still get it. All right, they still get the ice block, and Chun-Li had to evasion. This is a massive opening for fun. They're massively ahead on defensive cooldowns. Dampening is starting to ramp up. This is where they need to start nailing the crowd control. It's guaranteed that they can kill Chun-Li in this next attempt if they properly execute.
Omnivore just leaps away. That was all the burst coming in from Wealthy Man, and Whoopi behind the pillar. He's going to be able to channel some heals, some Soothing Mist, top off Omnivore. Now he's ready to go and jump back into combat once again. Chun-Li has no evasion. He's going to be a really good target. No feint available either. There's the full blind onto Whoopi, but Wealthy Man, he doesn't really have damage available to force out any sort of defensives. I mean, they get the Astral Shift, but I guess the Vendetta was enough for them. I really want to see these setups better executed by Super Frogs. Wealthy Man had already committed the Frozen Orb, the Comet Storm, basically all his damage. Whoopi goes into a blind, and they're really not that scared because of that.
Both teams are just playing for a very passive, late-game, big wave push strategy, and at that point, you're almost leaving the game up to chance. If you get connected on in one Stormbolt deep dampening, the game ends for you. So we see a smoke bomb on no trinket. Nice punish by Chun-Li. He Ring of Pieces to try and deny it, but Chun-Li's able to get some uptime. Cubsy moves in, secures a bash, potential Cyclone. Rosita's trying to get in range to grounding, but he gets silenced. This could close the game out if they have enough damage to push him over the edge, but Omnivore denies the damage on Wealthy Man. Whoopi sneaks in a life cocoon. Rosita survives another crowd control attempt. Well, Whoopi moves in with Way of the Crane, trying to pump out some damage. Double leg sweep. Good setup by Whoopi here. They need to back him up. They're going after Wealthy Man again, and he's got Temp Shield already activated. He's still got an ice block. I mean, inevitably in the late game, it seems to be in favor of For Fun, but their targeting seems to be just so off.
They really don't want Wealthy Man to cast, but Rosita Jones in a lot of trouble right now. Another Cyclone over onto Whoopi. Rosita Jones gets some heals on himself. Omnivore now getting CC'd up. Wealthy Man taking most of the damage, though. A nice Stormbolt coming in from Omnivore. Cubsy doesn't really have much in response. This could be the second ice block if Rosita Jones can connect. Nice Ring of Peace, actually knocking Wealthy Man into Rosita Jones, and they force out the second ice block. This could be the last ice block of the game at 41% dampening. I don't think Super Frogs can hold on another 4 minutes.
They've got Ascendance, so For Fun have a clear win condition with no ice blocks and no trinket. This next Stormbolt on Wealthy Man should be a kill, but they're popping Ascendance before Stormbolt. Omnivore can't really connect. He's trying. He charges over. He Temp Shields. There's a Stormbolt after the Temp Shield. Unless they can burst him down in this window, he's going to pop back to full HP quite easily. This Ascendance was a massive win condition. They're committing Avatar 2 to this attempt. Now they're on the back foot. They don't get anything done. They're falling behind. Super Frogs have an opportunity to swing the game back in their favor. Cubsy stalling out Omnivore with some Cyclones. Rosita getting tunneled down. He seems to be the primary target here, moving into dampening. Nice cap totem by Rosita. He snuck a couple of these in, and that actually banks him an evasion on Chun-Li. The next crowd control on Cubsy could close this out. Stormbolt, Wealthy Man trinkets. He's out of range. Rosita trying desperately to connect here with dampening almost reaching 50%. I'm not sure how much longer Wealthy Man can hold on.
Yeah, for fun, and they need to survive this setup. This is the Vendetta. Whoopie caught into the full polymorph. Omnivore all alone. Trinkets out, die by the sword, but still damage incoming from Wealthy Man and Chun-Li. Whoopie has to be able to get some heals out in this situation. Rosita Jones caught into the cyclone. Beautiful cross crowd control from Super Frogs. This could be the setup they need to close out this game. Omnivore getting lower and lower. Whoopie throws out the life cocoon, but a nice cyclone coming in. If Whoopie gets counterspelled or anything here, pops the Aura Mastery, gets some big heals on Omnivore, but another cyclone into kidney shot. This setup could close out the game.
I mean, unless Rosita saves him, but with 50% healing reduction, is he actually going to be able to wave the crane at the last second? If he can get one Rising Sun kick with this, it's going to stabilize Omnivore. Now Chun-Li is on the back foot. He's taking 3 players right now. Tons of damage. It gets polymorphed away. Good punish by Wealthy Man. Omnivore still in trouble. Chun-Li as well. With damage so high, the healers basically can't completely recover. It's a race to the finish at this point. Potentially cross kills on both fronts, but the crowd control is relentless. Omnivore falls first. Chun-Li will hang on. Nice map selection by Super Frogs as they move into match point.
Now, we got a lot of things to talk about with this matchup.
Oh, fantastic, but their target selection is flat out horrible because the mage is the worst target in this matchup.
Yeah.
Cubsy or Chun-Li is way better.
Well, and I think the other thing, too, is typically when you're in a matchup, you can even say in the blind, yeah, you can have the wrong kill target, and then you realize it's the wrong kill target, and then you have that nice little friendly argument afterwards, and then you kind of reassess things. But I do want to say, just one more time, giving credit where credit's due, like Rosita Jones, he tweeted something out about that interview at Blizzcon, and I rewatched it last night. Chills. That was a team that made me believe in NA. And to see him even playing right now is an absolute pleasure.
That's also why we're being so critical, right? I feel like For Fun have a lot of potential, and we really want to see them play to their maximum potential. And right now, the team synergy, I would say, is what it's boiling down to for their target selection is just not on point. We've seen Whoopie play in the past tournaments with Vices and Hots JK Purge as Turbo, and they had really high team synergy. That's why they were able to play that composition. They were the only ones in Legion playing it, really. The same composition that's on your screen with Warrior Enhancement Shaman. It requires team synergy. You go for big setup burst moments. It's not like the Warlords of Draenor or Turbo where you were just dragging the fight on and rotating defensively. It's an aggressive comp, even though the meta is dampening and late game oriented. We can see right now, good pressure for Super Frogs. Omnivore had to trade out die by the sword in the initial attack, which is his most powerful defensive. Whoopie trying to predict crowd control, activating Life Cocoon. Cubsy denies that preemptive play with a well-timed Cyclone. Nice read. They swap to Whoopie to try and punish that preemptive move, put him slightly behind. They get Diffuse, can reduce magic damage on him. He'll easily recover, but now that they've shown their hand that they'll swap over to Whoopie, he's got to be aware of that and a little bit more careful. Whoopie makes a move. This is the crowd control that they need. Stormbolt on Rogue, in cap on Cubsy, into cap totem. That's a clean setup. Unfortunately, they just didn't connect on their target. If they can clean that up, they could swing this back to a game 5.
I mean, there's no question about it. Rosita Jones could be in some trouble, though. Gets caught in the kidney shot. Whoopie charging in, wants to get the heals. Caught in the polymorph, though. Is there any follow-up? Rosita Jones, he trinkets out. He actually uses the stone form there. It's a very powerful defensive. It removes all the bleeds, as well as all the poisons to keep him alive. Now that he doesn't have that, he's going to be a little bit more vulnerable. But because he used the stone form, he still has that very powerful astral shift ability.
All right, Cubsy on this large map that For Fun selected. I don't think they had a lot of fun on Tolvaron, so they picked it again to do it again. I don't know, but I was expecting Hook Point or something a lot smaller than this. So if they can win this, they remove the second biggest map from the pool, but they're risking a lot to do it on match point. Good crowd control initiated by the Super Frogs. Perfect execution. Omnivore in trouble, barely hanging on. Rallying Cry about to fall. Whoopie needs to connect some heals, but his counterspell available? He Aura Mastery. He cyclones him at low health. This is a great play by the Super Frogs. This kind of crowd control setups, if they initiate it multiple times, can snowball a victory.
Yeah, and you can see Wealthy Man and Chun-Li, they both have their interrupts available. Whoopie very vulnerable, pops away of the crane. This is good instant healing for him. He just needs to connect to a target to top off Omnivore. Cubsy getting swapped to. He overextended. Barkskin and Ironbark going to be used. And now you can see Super Frogs, they're flailing. They need this game. Whoopie with a nice ring of peace, keeping Cubsy just in place. Whoopie trying to solo Cubsy right now. Not think Cubsy's going to die to this, but maybe Whoopie buying enough time for Omnivore and Rosita Jones to reconnect, but the Wealthy Man really just having his way with these two melee on that Frost Mage, not allowing them to take down Cubsy.
All right, well, they pulled out his entire defensive arsenal. They could switch to him again with Way of the Crane. I mean, that was a great play. All three of them were coordinated. They forced all defensive lineup because of this, and now Cubsy has to be afraid. Chun-Li doesn't have Trinket to get out of stuns, and neither does he, so the next Stormbolt could close the game For Fun just need to focus. Just focus up, and they can take this. There's an easy win condition right now on their screen. Save Grounding Totem, deny Polymorphs, maybe incap the Rogue to deny kidney shots, and they can easily kill Cubsy through Bear, but they're losing that window of opportunity with Barkskin becoming available for Cubsy, and they're really not initiating on anything at the moment. Rosita just trying to recover throughout this kidney shot, and he's going to be able to survive. They're still just running down Wealthy Man, and I just don't feel like it's going to work for them on this big map. It worked on Dalaran, but on Astromaine's Fall, this can't be the right strategy.
No, but at least they're making softs to Cubsy and Chun-Li occasionally. Wealthy Man under a lot of pressure. He trinkets out, trying to cut away. Polymorph's going to be casted out over and over. Nice kidney shot over onto Whoopi. Unfortunately, not capitalized on at all. Now Whoopi can sort of charge in. He gets a leg sweep on the Wealthy Man. There's no kidney shot that makes him vulnerable. Wealthy Man going to get reconnected by Rosita Jones and Omnivore, but Chun-Li just trying to put up some pressure. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like Super Frog has really found any damage. They're just trying to survive. You can see Cubsy very far away. He's trying to get out of combat so he can sit down for a drink, which regenerates his mana over time. That's why Wealthy Man and Chun-Li, they're just trying to avoid as much damage as possible to allow Cubsy to regen his mana, and he did. He sat down for a big drink. Now he's basically reset to the point of where Whoopi's at.
All right, Wealthy Man's got his Icy Veins up. He's trying to do big damage, but Omnivore shuts him down with a Stormbolt. Good denial there. Nice usage of Stormbolt, but he ultimately does get out. Smoke Bomb gets dropped. No Trinket on Rosita. Not enough damage, unfortunately, to push him over the edge. Windshield denies any crowd control from Cubsy, and For Fun will survive. Moving into Dampening. Mana basically tied at this point. No real windows of opportunity. Ascendance either needs to force an Ice Block or a swap over to Rogue. We see nice crowd control on Cubsy, but no cross crowd control with Stormbolt. And now Whoopi gets denied on his Way of the Crane by Wealthy Man. They pop Ascendance on Cubsy. He needs to be careful. If he's a little bit too greedy, that could push him over the edge, but Chun-Li peels for him with a nice kidney shot. Whoopi moves in for a leg sweep, though. Omnivore is just chasing down Wealthy Man. Again, like the coordination just isn't there. The team synergy isn't there. They're all great individual players, but they need to start initiating together as a team.
Yeah, they need to make sure they have their offense ready from all three members. Omnivore needs his mobility with Heroic Leap and Charge so they can actually seal the deal on the Cubsy. Rosita Jones basically wasted his Ascendance completely. Didn't really get anything except the Bark Skin. I mean, maybe they can capitalize on that. They can somehow get Cubsy's Trinket, but I kind of doubt it. Like I said, Wealthy Man, he's just been doing a good job just throwing out the Kona Colds, throwing out the Blizzards, throwing out the Novas, really stalls out the game. Omnivore and Rosita Jones, although it appears they're really not doing much on Wealthy Man, at the very least, they're denying some Polymorphs, some Frostbolts that build up procs, but it's really not that effective. Now you can see Wealthy Man looking for the re-Polymorph onto Whoopi. Rosita Jones could be in some trouble. He trinkets out, throws some heals on himself. It's going to be fine. A nice defensive fear from Omnivore onto Cubsy, denying any Cyclones onto Whoopi. That allows him to top off his team.
All right, Wealthy Man getting baited to use Temp Shield there, and Cubsy cloned to peel, so that Temporal Shield is a powerful defensive. It's all the damage that you take while it's active is stored. Then when the Temporal Shield ends or is removed, it bounces all that damage you took back and heals you for it. So it's very important against burst melee cleaves that you time that well. So now it's not available for another 20 seconds. Chun-Li has Vendetta. He could make a play here. He goes for a kidney shot on Whoopi. I don't really like that swap. I would have liked to maybe seen a Polymorph out of the kidney shot and then switch targets there. They switched to Chun-Li. Look at how much damage they do to Chun-Li. They just looked at him. That wasn't even any commitment of any crowd control. They literally just looked at him, and he had to use evasion. If For Fun just commit to the Rogue in this matchup, I think they can take it, but they're wasting so much time.
Yeah, another blind on a Whoopi. Rosita Jones, no Trinket. If they can keep the stun lock up, he's getting lower and lower. Uses the Astral Shift. Is there any follow-up? Cubsy looking for a Cyclone, but Whoopi rolls away, and Rosita Jones should be completely fine because of that.
Chun-Li in stealth. Uses his Vanish to try and survive. Nice counter spell by Wealthy Man. Trying to capitalize off the back of that, but Way of the Crane denies the kill. It's going to boost his team's damage a lot. I would love to just see an Incapacitate on Cubsy, Stormbolt on Chun-Li. He's got no Trinket. Instead, they're attacking into that Temporal Shield, which is just going to heal all of this damage back quite easily. Omnivore gets overextended in center field. Rosita's not locked down. He can support quite easily. Whoopi actually opts to trade Life Cocoon. Fair trade for Icy Veins, but now the Super Frogs can switch targets. They're going to go after Rosita, and he's a much more exposed target without personal defensives. There's a risky play by Whoopi to commit that cooldown, but they make it out. There's the crowd control. Incapacitate Cubsy, Stormbolt Chun-Li. He shadow steps away, but he shadow steps into a double leg sweep. Nice punishment by Whoopi. Now they Ring of Peace Cubsy against the wall, trying to deny his escape. unfortunately not netting themselves a kill. Rosita was not able to connect. If they do that with all 3 players attacking Chun-Li, it's almost impossible that he survives.
Yeah, Omnivore getting bursted down with a nice interrupt onto Whoopi once again. Nice CC chain coming in from Super Frogs. They may be able to take him down. He does have the dive on the sword, and Whoopi tops him off quite quickly, but you can see Cubsy once again playing very far away. His mana is very conserved at this point, whereas Whoopi's falling a little behind. He needs to try to sit down for a drink. You can see Cubsy's pushing on top of Whoopi because they know that is one of their clear win conditions in this game. If they can stall it out long enough, the Mistweaver Monk will eventually run out of mana, especially if they don't allow him to sit down for that drink.
This Ascendance, deep in the dampening, should be pulling ice blocks or netting kills, and that Ascendance didn't do either. That's going to put For Fun heavily behind. They're losing on mana. The map selection was terrible. They need to clean this up or they're going to be out of the tournament, and Super Frogs are going to be breathing easy. They're slowly but surely walking away with this. Double stuns. They need to try and remove Rosita from the game as well, but not able to find it. Whoopi interrupts the cycle with the leg sweep. Good cross crowd control. Nice targeting. Going after Chun-Li. Dangerously low. Manages to pull Iron Bark. They actually get a bit of a cheeky sap on Whoopi and trying to capitalize off the back of it, but I don't think it's long enough to really find a kill. They go for the blind play. They're going all in on Rosita. The crowd control is there. They need just a little bit more damage. Rosita trinkets to try and deny the kill, but dampening is quite high. May not be enough. It looks to be the case that it will be. Cubsy Cyclones Rosita knowing that the kill is lost, trying to slow down the pressure. Chun-Li actually running after Whoopi. Maybe trying to look for a kill on him or just some pressure to run him out of mana. Cubsy sitting down for a drink. Super Frogs are playing for the absolute late game and really punishing the map selection from For Fun.
Yeah, Rosita Jones getting low. There's a kidney shot, and now Whoopi's caught in the full polymorph. Rosita Jones very vulnerable. He needs to get out of the smoke bomb. Whoopi needs to get out of CC. They might be able to take him down right now. And Super Frogs is that much closer to securing their spot at BlizzCon. That was a very important victory for them. You know, maybe a little sloppy play, but ultimately will claim the series.
Hey.
That third game was way cleaner from Super Frogs.
Yeah, and
they just got to deliver those results.
All right, can they win on their patch? The Rejects playing up against NEET. NEET trying to play spoiler here. It is the Rejects who are trying to get that spot all the way to BlizzCon.
So Nick playing Subtlety Rogue, so they're going to be playing as Balanced Druid Rogue, similarly to how a Mage and a Rogue would play with Setup Burst. They can use the Solar Beam, which is that yellow box underneath Tiber's health. That's a silence effect, so they want to use that on Rubcub. And then Nick wants to stun multiple targets and then pick a burst. They could go after Jamili or Roasties with that, and they're going to be playing around Setup rather than sustain damage, as you would see if Nick was playing a spec like Assassination.
Yeah, and obviously the other benefit of the Subtlety Rogue is that he just has a lot more ways of landing those stuns, which can also be used in a defensive capacity. We know that Restoration Shamans have a fantastic kind of mana pool going into that late game, so we could also see them play a slightly slower pace game here, as Roasty's obviously going to be opening up onto Tiber. The full polymorph is landed, but they're swapping it over onto Nick. This is a good opener from the Rejects so far.
Ooh, that Meteor could hit huge for Jamili. Nick bursts down. Korlek actually trinketed. Jamili on the back foot a bit here. Tiber dishing out tons of counter pressure with this incarnation. Then switching to Roasties, bursting him down. Rubcub has to trade out Sacrifice. Both teams come out swinging with tons of pressure. Nice Cyclone by Tiber. Roasties held it and paused at low health. Rubcub playing the Avenging Crusader. He's loved that talent. Even in Legion, he was kind of leading the charge for Paladins, that aggressive healing talent, but he gets punished on it. Triple crowd control from NEET. These are the underdogs. These are the newcomers, and they're really starting to put it to the Rejects.
Yeah, you need to really respect the incarnation from the Moonkin, one of the most offensive cooldowns, as we see the smoke bomb coming down from Roasties, forcing out a lot of defensives on Nick, actually. That was the trinket, the cloak, and the evasion. They're still going through it. No trinket on the healer. If they can follow up this crowd control chain with the DR, Ring of Frost, this could be the kill. Feint used. Nick should be able to walk out of this one, I feel like, but that was the very last cooldowns from NEET. They should be able to get the Spirit Link out if they need to. Ascendance trade out instead, but the win condition for Rejects is that next crowd control chain. No trinkets on either player. Nick will go down in the next setup set.
All right, let's see how Nick is going to survive in this scenario. We've seen a lot of rogues make quick getaways and close calls, but I'm not sure if this is going to be the same against a team like the Rejects, such a high caliber team. Triple crowd control, perfect execution, too much damage to handle, and the Rejects are not going to allow the underdogs to sneak away with game number one.
And you know, this is kind of what you should expect typically of the team that does have the upper hand, right? And that not going to be the main focus of the pressure, and then he gets to do the damage as well in those setups. So this is where Jamili looks really scary. You want to keep your eyes on him because the Rejects can get on match point right here and right now.
Tiber boldly starting the fight out of stealth. That means Roasties can get a sneak attack on multiple players. A cheap shot Corlic. Jamili's in position to poly. Nick tries to deny it with a Shadow Step cheap shot, but without Shadow Step to reconnect, he's going to be a bit more immobile. He goes for a play, stunning up Rubcub. Tiber now out of that stun. Can follow up this kidney shot with the Solar Beam combo. Roasties gets stunned on his trinket, but with Cloak of Shadows, he should be able to survive. This is a clean exchange for NEET early on, pulling vital defensive cooldowns from Roasties. If they can stay alive for another 3 more attempts like that, they can easily close this game out. Now they're on the back foot looking to survive. Tiber line of sighting, but Nick gets swapped to by Roasties, looking to punish and go after him. Corlic is the one that kind of has to carry his team. He has to predict crowd control, use Grounding Totem to eat it up and soak it, or preemptively Earthen Wall Totem. In the first game, he panic trinketed. He didn't make any preemptive plays. This is a nice punish on the trinket here of Corlic, Hammer of Justice, but Jamili gets denied on the poly. Great peels by Nick. Almost a classic Neelio triple cheap shot play there by Nick, trying to showcase some high-level play here. Preemptively Cloak of Shadows. Corlic preemptively Earthen Walled, so Corlic is starting to show that he's predicting crowd control and starting to soak up some damage. He's got to be careful. They're making a swap to him. Meteor comes crashing in. Half his health gone in an instant. He's likely to survive, though, with Astral Shift popped. Tiber might need to look to try and Cyclone DPS here. He's just playing it passive.
Yeah, I like what the rejects are doing. They recognize that Nick got the preemptive Cloak of Shadows out, so they swap it over to Corlic. He actually doesn't have any major defensive cooldowns right now, as we see a little swap over onto Roasties. That actually forces the Divine Shield, that massive defensive cooldown from Rubcub there on the Holy Paladin, but they're looking to set up onto Nick. He uses his trinket early, though. Should be able to survive that one. An excellent Cyclone coming in from Tiber, denying the crowd control, and now it's NEET that have the edge because there's no breakers on Rubcub.
Yeah, this is looking better and better for NEET. They've survived those burst windows. They've got Solar Beam ready. Kidney shot, cheap shot, Roasties. This could just be the game. Corlic preemptively Spirit Links. They know they've got the win in the bag here. Roasties is so greedy in that position, choosing not to trinket. And now he could just throw the game as a result of that. He's desperately trying to stay alive. Nice Shadow Step kick to interrupt the follow-up crowd control on Rubcub. That allows him to connect to powerful defensive and stay alive. That was a greedy decision by Roasties, but because he was able to survive, it does put his team ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason he actually survived that is because Rubcub's playing the Dwarf, and he was able to use that ratio to break the Root Beam and get the sacrifice out in the final slivers of Roasties' health. If not for that, Roasties would be dead right now, and he might still die. We see the full kidney shot into the full Cyclone. Roasties not using his trinket because it was off cooldown for a second. Cloak of Shadows comes out, though, and they have the full polymorph over onto Corlic. They're looking for the kill on Nick. Can they follow up the crowd control, Sid?
Both rogues in a lot of trouble at this point, but I would say that Corlic's team is slightly ahead with his trinket rotating up in 2 more seconds to get out of that deadly blind. Tiber's got Incarn in 26 seconds. He's waiting for that moment of opportunity to burst down Roasties. It's a battle to the finish at this point. We're not even into dampening, but this game could end in the next setup. Corlic's got that Earth Elemental, so he can get combat when he's blinded. Opts to trinket anyway. We see kidney shot on Roasties, cheap shot on Rubcub. Good crowd control executed here by Team NEET. They managed to pull both trinkets by Rubcub and Roasties. A critical error on their part. That's a massive opening. They're trying to get a kill before, though, with both healers in crowd control. Both teams in trouble. Tiber gets swapped to, but Corlic read the play. He's got Earthen Wall down before the crowd control landed. Corlic finally showing some signs of life here, predicting that crowd control. Now Roasties on the back foot, on the run, ducking for cover. Rubcub gets a sacrifice off 1 second before that kidney shot. Both Rubcub and Corlic playing out of their minds, predicting crowd control at every last second.
Yeah, Nick had a fantastic setup there as well. That was the ice block coming in from Jamili, and Nick got the step kick, denying the setup. Now we see the smoke bomb, though. Tiber still in trouble, caught up in that bear form. Even with the incarnation, he's not going to get any damage out right now because he's playing so defensively. We see renewal from him, stabilizing his health, though. All 3 trinkets down on Nick, or on NEET rather, meaning that Rejects will win with this next setup. And I mean, since Roasties is caught up panel, they have to get the kill here. Looks like he should be able to survive. Blessing protection from Rubcub, denying the crowd control, getting the heals. Now the full counter spell over onto Corlic. They can get the Hammer of Justice or the polymorph off. They will win the game.
Cyclone on Rubcub. Roasties in trouble. He's kidney shots Nick. Jamili trying to sneak in a polymorph. He doesn't Grounding Totem. A mistake by Corlic is likely to cost his team the match. Nick is hanging on by a thread with evasion. Good peels by Tiber. Nice kick by Nick to compensate, but Corlic cannot afford to leave himself open to polymorphs like that again.
Yeah, he was very close to the pillar there, actually. I'm not sure how Jamili was able to squeeze that one in, but good job by him as we see the root beam coming over.
Smoke bomb.
big damage on Roasties. He's going to fall down here. He does end up falling. A very back and forth game, though, from both sides. NEET pull it out on Ruins of Lordaeron.
Definitely a very back and forth series. We see signs of life from both squads, and honestly, all I can say after...
Strong is your weakest link, and right now the Rejects, they're leaving holes in their game plan aggressively, and then on the side of NEET, their weakest link right now is Corlic mistiming these grounding totems and allowing Jamili to get polymorphs that he otherwise should not be able to get. So if Corlic cleans up that defense and the Rejects clean up their offense, this could be the most insane game we've ever seen.
Yeah, individually the Rejects are looking pretty good. Jamili's landing some phenomenal polymorphs. RMPal obviously amazing, as we saw Roasties actually getting caught out in the sap there, having to trade out his trinket, Cloak of Shadows. And Roasties has been the person who I've not been very happy with. He's been DRing his stuns quite often in the last game. There he got caught out once again. He uses the blind, achieves absolutely nothing with it because once again, Sid, they're not on the same page.
Yeah, and they got Roasties' trinket. Nick has smoke bomb. He's going to cheap shot Roasties. There's a smoke bomb. RMPal gets cycloned. Even just a 2-second cyclone could cost him the game. Not enough damage to find a kill, unfortunately, for Team NEET. That was a great setup. They pull more trinkets from the team. NEET have all the momentum. They've held on to a lot of defense. Corlic's got that grounding totem down. He needs to duck for cover and avoid poly, but now Roasties goes for the punish on Nick, kidney shotting him, but Nick has trinket. He gets out. Roasties is still low. RMPal is silenced up. He gets out of that at the final seconds. Roasties being greedy, not evasion. He gets cloned at low health, but Nick is still in trouble. He evasions to try and avoid the Avenging Crusader, but he's not facing the target. RMPal's hitting him on his back. That's a huge mistake by Nick. He's going to take a lot of free damage there that Corlic now has to deal with.
Yeah, and because of that, Corlic had to trade out his trinket, and suddenly the pressure reverses. Now the Rejects have a fantastic opening. There's no trinket on Nick, no trinket on Corlic. The next Hodge or Dragon's Breath, however they can set it up, could be the kill if they can just land that cleanly. Meanwhile, NEET obviously going to go for their setup, but RMPal has the Divine Shield. He trades it out. He knows this is the kill. Here comes the Hammer of Justice, Sid.
Nick pre-faints, so that reduces a lot of damage on himself, and Roastie's got Cyclone. So good teamwork between Nick and Tiber, but if Corlic keeps getting crowd control, they have to deny it. Nick with a Shadow Step kick, breaks up the chain. Corlic can now recover. Good teamwork by NEET there. That was a huge win condition for the Rejects. They get completely denied. Now NEET have an opportunity to try and gun down Roasties, but if they overextend in line of sight, Roasties has got Vendetta to punch back. It's still anyone's game, Adrian.
Yeah, I mean, neither of these teams have many cooldowns. We see the full kidney shot, just needed one crowd control over onto Corlic, unable to land it so far. Irvin's shield totem coming down means that he should be able to survive, and that was a great opportunity from the Rejects, but now that they've kind of used that, it's going to be a little bit harder for them. They still have no trinkets on NEET, so really the Rejects could win any moment if they do land the crowd control over onto the Shaman. But I think one of the main things they learned from the last setup is they need to get the counter spell over onto Tiber, otherwise he'll peel with the Cyclone.
Blind, no trinket. Devastating time here for Nick. He's retreating away. He actually vanished in stealth. He's invisible. Perfect stealth timing there. Roasties doesn't get a sap. They need a polymorph, but Nick interrupts it. MVP plays by Nick in this game right there. That could have been the end of the match, but he just read the situation perfectly, predicted it, and outplayed them. Nicely done by NEET, the underdogs, but Jamili sneaks a polymorph. These are the polymorphs that they can't allow to happen. It could just close the game out. Tiber's trying to carry with some Cyclones, but not able to find it. Nick's still in trouble, hanging on by a thread with Cloak of Shadows at 30%. Corlic is still locked down by Jamili. Roasties gets stunned up, trying to reverse some pressure, not able to find it. Corlic grounding totems, tried to avoid the Hammer of Justice. I'm not sure if RMPal committed it, but it looks like Nick is going to recover. Both sides start to take a chill pill, but I would say that NEET are slightly ahead on cooldowns, having trinkets available on multiple members.
Yeah, that was another huge play coming out of Nick there in that one. Managed to run circles around Roasties basically and get away from the setup. Now we can see NEET pushing in, trying to get their own root beam set up. That's going to be RMPal's Dwarf Racial to break out of that root, enabling him, but he gets caught up in the Cyclone on his trinket. A nice Shadow Step from Roasties, playing behind the pillar. But if they can chain this crowd control, Roasties doesn't have anything. He's just going to fall there. And NEET with some huge outplays, able to take the swing match on game 3.
All right, Nick.
Nick,
We see you.
All right. Here on Tolvaron Arena, they're about as rejected as they can get, and I don't expect to see them at Blizzcon. It can end here.
No one's going to be building a pyramid for the Rejects if they lose on Tolvaron as they sink beneath the sands. NEET, we were counting them out. We were counting them out, but they came to play. There's really only some small mistakes on their part, whereas the Rejects are starting to make massive mistakes, and Nick is covering the mistakes of Corlic, and that's the sign of a rank 1 top-level player, is when you can set up your own plays and also cover the mistakes of your team, and that kind of player is a Blizzcon champion, and this team has been a slow burn through Legion on the ladder. That was average tournament performances over a long period of time, but now NEET are coming into form. They've got good crowd control and burst early on. They pull Cloak of Shadows from Roasties. A decent start for NEET here on match point.
Yeah, and of course, bringing in Greki on the Restoration Druid changes up the entire game plan for Rejects. Now they do have the potential to survive a lot more of the setups from NEET. Obviously, the Restoration Druid Hot's going to enable them to survive a lot of those Subtlety Rogue burst opportunities because Subtlety Rogues don't do so much damage, and the mana will be better going into the long game. So they're basically saying, hey, we're not confident in our offensive setups, or goes as they're otherwise referred to. We need to play this longer game, and Greki will help them do that. So.
All right, we see crowd control initiated on the 3 members by NEET. They're going after Roasties. These hexes on Jamili have been so great, but now, why is Greki not dispelling that? That took a long time for Greki to dispel that. He's got to make sure he's awake here. This is match point. He can't afford any mistakes. Nick gets caught in a smoke bomb with no, he triggers out. Corlic's trying to get in line side, but he gets vortexed out of range by Greki. Nick survives with nice cyclones on Roasties. Good teamwork by NEET, but Corlic gets caught in a polymorph in midfield. The positioning from Corlic is very bad on this map. It is unfortunately one of the largest in the pool, but I would like to see Corlic clean this up, maybe pull back, try and go to more of a neutral position. Looks like they're trying to switch targets, go after Jamili. They managed to pull Ironbark. Now they can switch back to Roasties, and that defense won't be available.
Yeah, and we can see all 3 of the trinkets have actually been forced out on NEET, and there's once again this kind of 50-second window where the Rejects can push for crowd control. We see Greki going across the map. Here comes the Mighty Bash. They might try and set something up onto Nick here, but I'm not sure if Roasties has his kidney shot available. He used it on Tiber just a short moment ago. If they can follow up the crowd control, maybe they can tunnel him down a little bit. Barkskin comes out as the defensive cooldown for the Moonkin Druid, reducing that incoming damage. Jamili on this Frost Mage just trying to play the slow game here. You can see he's using a lot of his mobility to kind of kite Nick, but Roasties is the target of choice.
Smoke bomb available. Nick not pulling the trigger on that, trying to maybe bait a trinket there. Greki's actually pretty incredibly far behind on mana. If they're playing the slow long game, it's not looking good for them. Right now, they don't have Smoke Bomb. They don't really have any opportunities. Corlic's got Trinket coming up soon. It's looking better and better for NEET, but they need to deny Greki from drinking. So he sneaks behind the pillar. He's in stealth and drinking. This regenerates his mana, but he gets denied by Tiber, saving that Astral Power to use Starfall. It's an area effect. It can go around the corner on the pillars and deny drinks. Really nice level decision there by Tiber. He catches Greki midfield in a bash. Looks like he's maybe trying to get a Cyclone. Roasties should be able to deny it, so they go for blind instead. That pulls Trinket. They sap his Trinket! Nick is a legend!
Yeah, a huge outplay there coming in from Nick. The sap on the Trinket from Greki. Normally needs to sit up for a second. Here comes the Smoke Bomb. That'll force the Ice Block as well. Big plays, but they're trying to counter go full sheep over onto Corlic. Here comes the Icy Veins. That huge Frost Mage burst from Jamili, of course, will be playing that Frigid Winds. But he's just getting shut down. The defensive Smoke Bomb, as they try to get the swap, that's going to be the Spirit Link force out from Corlic. Big cooldowns on either side. Honestly, though, this is in favor of the Rejects because I think they have the only real kill windows going early into the game.
That Spirit Link Totem was a bit of a panic move, but they've still got momentum. Jamili's on hypo, gets cloned at low health. He can't ice block when he's on hypothermia, and it's a debuff that lasts a couple of seconds longer. He needs to avoid damage. He's line of sighting with Greki, trying to pick him back up, but really starting to struggle. Tiber's got Incarn. There's a kidney shot. Jamili could be alone. Nick looking to close. Shadow Step kicks the poly. He can't blink away. Cheap shot, Shadow Blades. Huge damage for Jamili. This could easily be the second ice block if he's not careful. Second ice block. NEET come out swinging. This is match point. Blizzcon is on the line for the Rejects. They can't afford to lose.
Yep, Jamili quaking in his ice block. He's as cold as ice right now, but he's going to have to come out momentarily as Nick is just tunneling him down. 100% uptime against this Frost Mage is not something you want to see. You need to start getting those snares, getting those roots, denying Nick his damage. The miss on the Cone of Cold there is
nice
going to
fake.
enable Nick to get out as we see the Solar being faked. Just good call by Greki. And now you can see Jamili and Greki kind of pulling back into this defensive position. They know they're low on defensive cooldowns. Ironbark's forced. Mana's not looking great either as we see a swap over to Roasties.
All right, I pulled his Trinkets. They've still got momentum. Tiber clones him at low health. Gareki's panicking. He's sweating. He's running low on mana. He was expecting this to be a slow, long, dampening game, but NEET are bringing it to him and putting the pressure on. Gareki's forced to play aggressive. He secures a cycle, and they managed to pull Nick's Trinket. They can punish that with Smoke Bomb moving forward, but Jamili has to make it to that point. He's under fire. Trades that temp shield to recover. Gareki repositioning. His mana's not looking too good. He needs to try and go for a drink, but if they keep saving Starfall to deny it, he won't be able to find it. Tranquility. Blind, pull Trinkets, they go after Roasties. Maybe Jamili for a swap instead. They've got both of his ice blocks out of the way. At this point, it's anyone's match, but it's looking worse and worse for the Rejects. This is unbelievable, Adrian.
If they can pull Roasties away, you see there's a bit of a gap between the Smoke Bomb on Nick up in about 45 seconds and the Trinket on Roasties in about a minute 15. So all they really need to do is keep Rejects playing defensively. Gareki will be looking for a drink, which means he will be playing far back and away from Roasties. This Smoke Bomb in about 30 seconds time could be the win condition for NEET, but they They need to keep Greki from drinking. In the meanwhile, we see another kidney shot going to force out as the bash comes in. They might just get the kill anyways. No triggers available. DR cheap shot coming out from the subtlety rogue. Those spam stuns, but it's the step restun. They're going for the counter kill. Here comes the smoke bomb from Roasties. Nick in trouble. Pre-evasions might be able to survive this one. Triple DR cheap shot and the full streak from Jamili as they're trying to stay in the game, trying to stay in the BlizzCon run here, Sid.
Both rogues still in so much trouble. He closed him at low health on the Iron Bark. Amazing play by NEET. They're completely on the ropes. The rejects don't have anything left. Reki's tapped up. Mana smoke bomb gets dropped. The rejects are going home.
Okay, so I actually did the math. We got confirmation. So what happens now, the super rejects, they can, in theory, still potentially
composition, and they're going up against Shore.
Are they triple pandas though?
That's the question.
Double, or?
I think they're playing double panda. They normally do.
And that's a 90% win rate. You guys have a lot of faith in the Gosu crew.
Well, they're just such a strong team, honestly. The amount of crowd control that they're able to put out and the amount of aggressive pressure is really, really remarkable. So we'll have to see the Gosu crew, how they can get aggressive. Right now, they're going to be opening up onto Dark Swag, putting out quite a bit of damage right now, very early on with the silence over on a flop. Let's see if they can follow up that CC chain.
They found Swacked and Stealth with that Mind Seer, which returned in Battle for Azeroth. But in the meantime, Shore is swinging back with triple crowd control, trying to gun down WizK, but he's already at full insanity. That purple bar maxed out, meaning that his honor talent Edge of Insanity is activated. He takes 20% less damage. He's very unlikely to go down with that extra damage reduction paired with Earthshield, so it is likely that we see Shore go on to Peekaboo in the future, unless WizK opens himself by casting the spell Void Eruption. So I would like to see Shore switch targets unless that opportunity occurs.
And that's one of the difficult things about going up against RPS right now is you really don't have a good target. If you go on Peekaboo, then WizK is free. He's able to get the mind controls. You just use the life grip onto Absurge to break the polymorph. But now a huge swap over on his Swag. Can they just take him down? Ironbark, Cloak of Shadows, everything traded out. I don't even think they had CC on flop. That was just an unbelievable amount of damage. A nice smoke bomb coming in from the Gosu crew. And now the Shore, they don't really have much left to work with.
I mean, this should be the Gosu crew's game at this point. They're switching to Serral, trying to force some hots swap to him. They can't really attack Swag as he's retreated away. Actually gets Earth Grab. Flop gets swapped to in a kidney shot. Unlikely to go down, but they managed to at least pull his bark skin, so now he's even vulnerable. Peekaboo overextending though, getting stunned behind the pillar. Serral moves in, try and punish this overextension with a Comet Storm. They've got good crowd control onto the team. Peekaboo's actually alone in this position. Potential opening here, but they drop the ball. The chain's broken. Nice wind shear. Swag now into a kidney shot and on the back foot. Flop peels for him with a well-timed Cyclone on Peekaboo though.
Yep, Peekaboo should be safe. He has his Trinket, he has his Vanish. Those are basically a get-out-of-jail-free card, so he can push behind. There's the cheap shot on flop. Fear on Swag. He's all alone. No defenses, and I think they might be able to close it out with this triple cap totem. Flop dispels it. Ironbark's out as well. Swag might live, and that is what I like to call the move. The Gosu crew, they've sort of patented this talent, that or this racial that the Pandas have, and they utilize that so I can keep a target in place. He can do quite a bit of damage with that Ice Form build with the Frigid Grass that we've seen Mages run in this tournament so far.
Curious to see. Swacked got found in stealth the last game. That's devastating, especially as Subtlety Frost. He cannot get found in stealth. So Mind Seer casted on Peekaboo means that Peekaboo is a shadow AoE tossed around him. If he goes near anybody in stealth, he will pull them out. So WizK spamming Mind Seer on multiple targets to try and catch them, but Swag snuck in behind him. Now he gets to get an opener. This is a completely different start for the Team Shore.
Yeah, Peekaboo opens with a Garrote though on Serral to sort of deny any sort of damage. Oh, the blind gets broken by the pet attack. That is so unfortunate. They're not going to be able to punish the Gosu crew at all with that. So huge misplay from Shore very early on.
I mean, they need blinds if they're ever going to win this game. Now they're on the back foot. Swag gets stun locked. He trinkets, but he doesn't trade cooldowns. Bit of a greedy play, but he will survive. Flop activates Tree of Life, so unlikely that anyone in his team is going to be under pressure. So the Gosu crew are basically at a moment of pause, looking to get crowd control, but they actually walk into a bit of a trap here as Shore set up triple crowd control. Unfortunately, they're going after the Edge of Insanity Shadow Priest, so 20% less damage on the Shadow Priest in this position. He got Vampiric Embrace as well, which lets all of his damage heal. He's basically untouchable in that position. Nice swap on Peekaboo. This is the target that they need to be on. He's really the only vulnerable one in this composition.
That was all their burst. Oh. They brought Peekaboo to 80% HP. Now Swag's getting swapped to cheap shot into cheap shot, kidney shot into cheap shot into cheap shot, and Gosu crew, they close it out very early on. The Shore, they just can't find any damage in this matchup.
Yeah, Gosu crew looking better and better as the series goes on, and Gosu crew 2 up in this series, and they're looking to make it a third, a quick 3-0 here on the tables for Peekaboo and crew.
The Gosu crew look untouchable here against Shore in the upper bracket. They're looking to assert dominance in the North American region. They want to be the #1 seed, the highest point earners, so that way they can get a weaker opponent at the BlizzCon finals and start their road there. We see Swag and Peekaboo. Actually, Peekaboo getting sapped, but the Mind Seer actually didn't hit Swag. That's a bit unfortunate. Swag gets a great start here. Cyril trying to follow up with crowd control. Everybody locked down, and they're hitting the right target this time, going after Peekaboo, not the Edge of Insanity Shadow Priest. But even with that perfect setup, all they pull is Feint. This is a terrible start for Shore.
Well, it was a good start in theory, but Peekaboo just not taking any damage. I mean, Cyril committed basically everything there, but Feint's going to deny a lot of that. Now Peekaboo's moving on to target once again. It seems like Swacked is their main focus in this matchup. Full blind now on Flopped. Swacked with a Shadow Step Kidney onto Peekaboo. Very nicely done with a nice blind onto Absurge. Still just not finding any damage. A little bit of burst coming in now with the Polymorph over onto Absurge. Cyclone on WizK. Shore doing an insane job with their cross crowd control, but the Gosu crew, they're looking to get aggressive.
All right, Peekaboo pre-cloak of shadowing that kidney shot. Now he's looking to build momentum with that Vendetta popped. Switching between Cyril and Swacked, trying to maybe not attack into Ironbark. Doesn't want to deal with the extra damage reduction. Starting a crowd control chain on Absturge. Stun. Master Spell. Nice utility by WizK. They follow with another Cyclone at least, but there's just no damage. Peekaboo has traded evasion, which is a little bit of a lead for sure, but now they're on the back foot. Swacked in a kidney shot. Flop tried to go for Tranquility, but canceled it instantly to try and bait a fake cast on that wind shear. Gets silenced anyway. Absturge in a Polymorph. Peekaboo pre-feints, expecting to get stunned with his healer crowd control. That's a nice read, but Shore wait for it. Then they Cyclone him. Then they switch to Absturge. He pre-walled the kidney shot. Absturge expecting that swap, reading the situation, and denies a kill.
Yeah, I'd be really interested to see what Azerite traits Peekaboo's using for defensive capabilities, because if he's using the one where anytime he gets stunned, he gets healed up, that's going to be very effective against the Subtlety Rogue to basically not die to these swaps.
All right, Panda Racial on Flop. Absturge going across the map for that. Into a Cap Totem. Clean setup. Swacked could be in trouble as the crowd control chain is secured. Will Ironbark be enough defense for Swacked to survive in this position? Looks to be the case with Feint paired up with it, but Mana not looking too good. Shore are losing on multiple fronts. They have maybe another 2 setups to end this before I think the Gosu crew are walking away 3-0.
Well, the Gosu crew, they just have so many tools to deal with these swaps. I mean, WizK still has the life swap. Absturge has Spirit Link Totem. Peekaboo still has his Trinket. There's really not too many openings. Absturge is going to get swapped too once again. Cyril needs to get there. Ice Form gets popped. A lot of burst damage coming in. WizK needs to help him out. Potentially, Absturge is going to keep himself alive, though, as he moves away, and Peekaboo responds with a kidney shot onto Swacked with a silence over on the Flop. He has no Trinket. Swack could just go down right now with this smoke bomb as he gets lower and lower, trying to kite away. Manages to escape barely with his life.
All right, Mana is starting to really get tapped for Flop. Absturge is still sitting comfortably at almost full mana. Ice Form not available for 30 seconds. Swacked is popping Shadow Blades to make something happen. They're going after WizK, but with Edge of Insanity, he takes 20% less damage. It's really unlikely that he's going to go down, I think, in this position. Even with Shadow Blades from Swacked, that boost of damage not enough. WizK gets Cyclone. They switch targets. I like this move, trying to go after a more vulnerable target, but Absturge is already in position. Spamming out Riptides and allowing Peekaboo to easily recover. Silent Stun combo forces Swacked to Trinket. So now, no Trinket, no Cloak of Shadows, no Trinket on the Druid, no Mana. I mean, this is looking better and better for the Gosu crew.
Oh, they just need one clean setup. One kidney shot with NECC over on the Flop. They could do a Silence into Quaking Palm, into Fear, anything like that. They have Blind, says Zico, so Blind is an option as well. And if they just blind and kidney shot, I think the Gosu crew is going to 3-0 this series.
Ooh, they tried to do something cheeky there, going after Absturge, then switching targets back to Peekaboo. They at least managed to pull his Trinket, but now Swack is caught in that kidney shot. This could be devastating for the Shore. It's match point in the upper bracket as Gosu crew look to assert dominance. Swacked is dangerously low. Flop has almost no mana. Innervate timed. All of his spells are free. He's got a couple seconds to cast some expensive big heals before that runs out. He's managed to recover and stay in the fight just a little bit longer. With that opening on Peekaboo, perhaps they pull off the miracle.
Yeah, Flop, look, he's going down. He's trying to get out of combat, looking for a drink, but Peekaboo is immediately deny that. Full blind, looking for the stun over on the Swack. That's it. That's going to close out this game. I believe Silence now over on the Flop as well, but they're not finding the damage. Calm Storm connects over on the Peekaboo, but he deflects that easily, and Swack somehow survives that setup. Nicely done, but still, he's not out of the woods yet.
Crowd control is still going on Flop. Double Panda Racial. Swack goes for the smoke bomb play. This was the miracle. Will it be enough damage? No. Peekaboo will survive. That was the only opportunity that Shore had been working so hard to get to, and they don't get anywhere with it. Now it's basically a complete reset on cooldowns. They're not going to get that smoke bomb for so long. Flop's just tapped on mana. We've just stepped into dampening. It's only going to become more and more difficult. Silence on Flop. Swacked and Cyril both down almost to half health. Flop has a lot of work and not a lot of mana to do it with. Everybody is dying. WizK is digging in. Swack vanishes to avoid dying, but Cyril is still low. He panic pops Ice Form to try and make a miracle happen here with the last seconds of Blind. They go for a cycle and they have to kill Peekaboo with WizK in a cycle. They have to kill him now. Will they be able to do it? Yes, they actually do it. They pull off the miracle. They crack the defense and manage to put a point on the board.
I cannot believe Shore managed to do that. That was insane play, cross crowd control and burst. Like, very well done.
Look at Flop's mana bar as well. Like, that was literally the last cyclone left in the tank there. That was really nice setup.
That was a very nice setup, and I mean, they've gone from a team that was struggling to pull a single trinket to pulling them all, finding the victory, and for sure it was difficult, but they were able to manage it, and now they pull here to take down Shore.
I know you're backstage, Rich, so this is for you. Ruins of Lordaeron, as it is a cemetery, would be a fitting final resting place for Shore as the Gosu crew look to advance.
Like I said, it just always so happens that they pick this map on what could potentially...
They do it for Sid.
Yeah, they just do it for Sid. That's got to be true. So we're going to have to see Shore. They're going to have to pull off a miracle once again, because Gosu crew, they've been looking bulletproof.
What was that?
Yeah, they open
bomb?
up. Abster's looking like he's going to get kidneyed. They're committing a lot of damage onto him right now. A lot of bursts. They managed to pull out the Astral Shift. He's going to be able to survive with that, but that's a small victory for Shore early on.
Why did Swack smoke bomb? That was his first button of the game.
I think he actually smoke bombed Cyril so he could get off his damage without being interrupted.
Okay, that's cheeky, but it didn't net them a kill. Now they're switching targets to Peekaboo, which is basically the only vulnerability, I think, in this matchup, is to take him out like they did in that last game, but it requires so much effort, so many perfect attempts executed in a row, and now in Ruins of Lordaeron with really nowhere to hide, so much open field for WizK to free cast on, and they can chase them down. It's going to be incredibly difficult for Shore to be able to take the Gosu crew down.
Yep, Flop trinketed the blind, committed his Iron Bark, and now they make a swap over onto Swack. They're kind of baiting them into thinking Cyril is a good target. Now kidney shot on Absurge once again, a big amount of burst, but I think Absurge should be able to survive this. Still has the Earthen Shield Totem, and now Peekaboo back on target. Garrote into kidney shot, silence onto Flop. Swack has to trinket out. He has the Cloak of Shadows, he has the evasion as well. Wants to reverse the pressure over onto Peekaboo. This is a nice setup from Shore once again.
Yep, they managed to pull Feint, unfortunately only from Peekaboo, so that's not going to really net them any powerful cooldowns moving forward. Peekaboo has Vendetta available. He's got Smoke Bomb. Guess what Swack doesn't have? He doesn't have a Trinket. He can't get out of that. If Swack is there it is, Kidney Shot, Smoke Bomb. Flop is out of position. He's trying to run into the Smoke Bomb and walks into his Psychic Scream. Perfect crowd control set up here by the Gosu crew as they advance to the upper bracket.
Clean and clinical. The Gosu crew with a quick win here on Game 3 will advance them to Championship Sunday tomorrow to face potentially one of those big hits.
Magic. Basically, Sea-Doo can add up to trap, and Trill can reverse it. And they can sort of just rotate that to get Sea-Doo out of crowd control as often as possible. In the meantime, Samayams can be able to put out a lot of control on that Moonkin with the root beams over onto Milkman. I'm curious, Milkman's actually not playing Gnome, so didn't really anticipate this composition.
The other thing to take into account is that the Honor Talent Spirit Link was nerfed heavily, so they don't have that advantage against jungle. And Moonkins are very susceptible against jungle to just getting annihilated. So we see Dilly has opted to run the Diamond Ice Trap as he was predicting Trill to play Reverse Magic, and Trill mind-read him to play that, so Trill isn't even playing Reverse Magic. So Dilly actually just loses out on a couple seconds of trap because Trill expected a result that Dilly would decide in the waiting room. That's a really next-level mind game there by both teams.
Yeah, Milkman pushing in. He wanted to land a Fear over onto Sea-Doo. Sea-Doo managed to get away, though. Samayam still putting out incredible pressure onto both Cyfoxy and Dilly. You can see they both do not have a Trinket, so the next time Trill lands some stuns with the Chaos Nova, the Fell Eruption, now they're not going to be able to get out of that. There's a full trap secured over onto Sea-Doo. Samayam could be in some trouble. Still has most of his defensives, and it looks like Trill doesn't want to mess around. He's just going to drop the Darkness to sort of negate the CC chain that Casca Xenos was able to put out.
Darkness is a team defensive cooldown. It's a 3-minute cooldown. It trades quite effectively with offensive 3-minute cooldowns such as Cyfox's Incarnation, which was activated, but Incarn lasts a lot longer, so you're seeing the momentum of that on the back of this. Sea-Doo has to pop Ascendance to recover. Good teamwork from Dilly getting Milkman out of that silence, but Samayam follows it up with a Cyclone, putting Cyfoxy further behind. Milkman trying to recover, but look at that mana bar, Ven, right now in Milkman. He's almost tapped.
Yeah, that's not the best place to be in against a player like Trill and Sam I Am.
That
We've seen
mana
him
rift.
put out crazy pressure in the past, and if he's running the mana rift, he's going to be able to burn Milkman's mana. Every time he's caught there, he can put a little circle on the ground, and once that expires, it basically explodes and drains mana from Milkman. That's why he's just on such a timer. They have to win quickly, but Method Orange so far, they've been doing a good job rotating their defensives. In this moment, though, they're actually a little bit vulnerable. No Barkskin, no Trinket from Sam I Am. There's a full trap over onto Sea-Doo. Trill gets bashed up. Are they going after him? A lot of burst over onto Trill. He needs to get that blur off as soon as possible. Activate it, and I think that's going to be enough to keep him alive.
Psychic Scream on Sea-Doo, but the crowd control chain is just so far diminished because Dilly's running that Honor talent. He was expecting the Demon Hunter to play Reverse Magic, which would remove his other freezing trap completely, but Trill expected that and isn't even playing it, so they just lose 3 seconds on their crowd control chain. It doesn't seem to be long enough to really force a kill. Perhaps Trill is ultimately the kill target moving forward. We're going to have to wait and see how Casca's Angels want to play this out. Blizzcon on the line. Good pressure right now on Sam I Am. He diffuses the situation with a Cyclone on Dilly. Stun on Sea-Doo. They need more crowd control here if they want to take down Method Orange in game number 1. Good follow-up. Nice execution. Sam I Am dips low. Lower and lower, trades out. He's likely to recover now as Sea-Doo breaks out of crowd control. That Earthen Wall Totem protecting Sam I Am, but it's a 2-for-1. Now they swap to Trill. He's outside of the totem. He's inches away. He ducks into the totem for the damage reduction, barely staying alive. Milkman's completely tapped on mana. They've only got a couple more seconds to nail a kill, Ven.
Yeah, Trill needs to kite. He needs to get away. Blur's just coming up now. Sea-Doo finally out of the CC chain. Milkman caught into the full Cyclone. Foxy's in a lot of trouble. Sam I Am wants to get aggressive. He trinkets out of the stun. Wants to keep this pressure and momentum rolling for his team. Trill still a little bit vulnerable, though. Sea-Doo might have to preemptively drop the Spearling Totem on the next stun. Root Beam onto Milkman, and Foxy gets taken down. Method Orange proving that this composition, it still works.
I mean, Method Orange, they just read Casca's Angels like a book, right? Like, they bring in the Moonkin, Casca's Angels don't have the Gnome. Dilly's trying to preempt the reverse magic by playing Diamond Ice, but Trill's somewhere in Master, over to being a top-tier PvPer for this tournament. This man knows no limits as we go into game 2.
I see what you did there, because he's getting him his limit.
Okay. Dilly sneaking across the map in camouflage, netting up Trill, looking to find a target. May just want to try and trap adaptation right away. He's not playing reverse, and he's running the full duration freezing trap. So Dilly wins the mind game here. He's going to get 3 extra seconds on these crowd control chains, and even 3 seconds can nail them kills.
Yep, there's a Root Beam over on a Milkman once again. Sam I Am taking a little bit of pressure. Meantime, Dilly Food taking a little cleave. Sam I Am decides to pull the trigger with his Incarnation, wants to get the damage rolling. You can see there's the stun into the mana rift. So Milkman is going to get a little bit of a mana burn there, but you can see he's actually playing relatively efficiently at this point, but there's really not too much you can do about it as the game extends late.
He's also a gnome, so now he doesn't need to rely on Dilly to get him out of root solar beams. He can get out of every single one by himself. And now he's moving in to get a Psychic Scream out of this freezing trap. Good timing. Darkness traded. 1-for-1 on that Berserk. Foxy actually not running Incarn, so he's looking for more sustained damage with Soul of the Forest, and he's got a huge burst window despite that. Sam I Am dipping dangerously low here. This could be a Spearling Totem. Sea-Doo's trying to hold on to it and play it greedy. Cyclones should stall out the damage long enough for Sea-Doo to allow himself to move through that. But with the 3 extra seconds on that freezing trap, with Foxy running more sustained damage in this build, I think this is a much better setup for Casca's Angels strategically.
Well, it just makes sense. Trill was just dropping the Darkness on the Incarnation, negating so much of that damage, so now it's not an efficient trade for them. Trill getting bursted down. Fear on Sea-Doo. They had no way to get out of it. They might be able to take Trill down. Nice double Chaos Nova. Spirit Link gets dropped out, and Descendants. Casca's Angels, this map working out quite well for them as they generate a lot of pressure.
Okay, Sea-Doo's got no adaptation, no Barkskin. If they can get a freezing trap into a Psychic Scream, they can kill Sam I Am here in these next couple seconds. But Fox is on the back foot and forced to run away. Sometimes offense is the best defense. If you force your opponents to run away, they can't push forward. Dilly lands the crowd control. Foxy jumps in. They need to net a kill in this window, but Milkman gets imprisoned. They need to stall Milkman a little bit longer. He's trying to cross. He gets bashed for 1 second. Milkman needs to get there. Sea-Doo, is he going to pre-tremor the fear? He pre-tremors. Milkman fears into it. Nice play by Sea-Doo.
Yeah, he got the Earthen Shield Totem down as well, so Sam I Am and Trill, they're not going to be taking much damage while that is down. In the meantime, though, look at Milkman's mana. It is not doing well. Cyclone on Dilly, he has no trinket. Cyfoxy getting low as well. This is really where you can see Method Orange damage sinking into the team of Casca's Angels. There's the stun into Fell Eruption. Milkman, he is running out of time. He's running on fumes.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's not looking good for Casca's Angels. That was their window of opportunity, but Method Orange stalled it out. Sea-Doo with a nice outplay, and this should be netting them a win here unless a miracle kill. Tons of damage on Samayam at the moment. Milkman gets out of the Solar Beam, but he was interrupted. Samayam adapting to the fact that Milkman is playing Gnome, using the Solar Beam to interrupt the cast rather than blanket it, which is a smart adaptation. Sea-Doo still crowd control, but Cyfoxy's low. Milkman's got no mana. He can basically only use Smite and Penance, but that's not a lot to heal through the damage of Trill, the highest damage dealer in PvP, period. Cyfoxy ducks for cover, but gets windshield by Sea-Doo as Method Orange close in for the kill, moving to match point.
A better game from Casca's Angels, but it's not enough to beat the champions. Method Orange advancing 2-0 in this series onto match point, 1 game away from locking Casca's Angels down to the lower bracket from Championship Sunday.
Yeah, let's see if Casca's Angels can do it. You can see Milkman, he's playing Dark Archangel this game, so that's what we're talking about. They need to play hyper-aggressive if they want to break down through those defensive cooldowns. Full trap over onto Sea-Doo, immediately used the adaptation. He has no real choice. It's an automatic trinket, but that's one thing Casca's Angels, they had to get that out of the way in order to secure a kill.
Bash Cyclone, Samayam pulls the trigger on Incarnation. Cyfoxy gets caught in a double stun by Trill. Huge damage from Method Orange potentially here. Cyfoxy denies it. Gets Cycloned at low health though. Samayam on fire with these plays early on. Sea-Doo repositions far away, moving corner to corner on this map. He wants to be on the opposite corner from Milkman, so he has to walk the furthest distance. Now Milkman needs to make his way. He's got the feather. He needs to get slowed down. He gets imprisoned. Good teamwork from Trill. Now they pop that aggressively to turn the tables. Mana Rift actually gets missed there by Trill. That is a miss, but Samayam! Whoa, whoa, whoa! That's a huge amount of damage. Darkness is going to save him, but that was a close call.
Yeah, that wasn't even the Dark Archangel, so they still have that available. Maybe just waiting to pull the trigger, so Method Orange sort of gets taken by surprise by the additional damage. Sea-Doo, adaptation's going to be coming back up. Dilly has to get that out of the way, and then once again, Casca's Angels can strike with a full trap into full fear. That's the combo that they need. Full maim now. Samayam still taking quite a bit of damage. You can see Cyfoxy looking to get very aggressive. They get the full trap. Sea-Doo uses the adaptation. That's going to be the Ascendance as well. Method Orange, they're falling behind on defensives.
This is a different team from Casca's Angels. Their damage is so much higher this match. At least it feels that way. They've managed to burn so many defensive cooldowns. Incarnation is rolling now. Sea-Doo doesn't have adaptation. Casca's Angels are showing signs of life. The next crowd control on Sea-Doo could close the game out. We see a bash. Milkman needs to make his way in there. He needs to get to Sea-Doo, but he's still too far away. Sea-Doo with perfect positioning, even on the small map, is using the starting room corner to try and duck as far away as possible, but they can't stall the crowd control out any further. Samayam is in a 2v3 here. Cyfoxy gets cloned away. He pre-earthen wall totem. Nice read by Sea-Doo. That's allowing Samayam to soak a lot of this damage, which would have otherwise ended the match.
I really feel like Casca's Angels, they wasted that attempt attacking and crowd controlling through the Earthen Shield totem. Sea-Doo preemptively used it. They had plenty of time to just wait, play it patient, wait for the trap, wait for the fear, and they could have easily taken Samayam down. On the other hand, now that they just wasted all of their damage into that cooldown, wasted their go, now Sea-Doo has the adaptation once again, and Method Orange is looking to get aggressive.
Yeah, 55 seconds on Samayam's Incarnation, and to be honest, Trill has been missing and not even going for a lot of mana rifts, which is why Milkman's mana is so much higher. Trill needs to focus up on that front, because if he's not landing those, Milkman's team is going to extend for a longer match, and I think at that point, they definitely have a win condition. Mana's tied this game, which is completely different than the last two matches. Cyfoxy in a bit of danger here as Milkman's crowd controlled. He may have to trade. He chooses not to. Milkman ducks around the corner there of that wall, avoiding the Cyclones. Freezing trap secured, but he pre-earthen wall totems again. Sea-Doo is inside the heads of his opponents.
Yeah, Samayam's going to survive because of that, but still a lot of pressure as he gets lower and lower. Needs to get in line of sight of Sea-Doo to connect some heals. Milkman still has the Dark Archangel. They still have a kill opportunity here. Sea-Doo, no adaptation for another 10 seconds. I don't think Casca's Angels really has the crowd control to push through right now, but I just really want to see them be more patient attacking into Earthen Shield Totem. It's just such a key, strong defensive that Method Orange has. If they're just a little bit more patient, and they can take Samayam down much sooner.
Trill into the stun. Milkman making his way across, trying to go downtown for a Psychic Scream. Gets denied by Samayam with that bash, but still a lot of damage. Sea-Doo's mana isn't looking too good this game. If Milkman can hang on a little bit longer, nice double Psychic Scream. This could pull Barkskin. They really want to get that. They get it. Now they need to make sure that if the pre-earthen wall happens, they don't. There's pre-earthen wall. way before the freezing trap was even available. He gets mind controlled out of it. Luckily gets purged off by Sea-Doo. Mana still tied this game. If there was any game here that Casca's Angels could take, it would be this one. They need the freezing trap. They get it. Earthen Wall Totem is going to be fading as they need to kill Samayam in these next couple seconds. Trill denies the kill with Darkness. Good teamwork from Trill. Now Foxy on the back foot. This Mana Rift is going to be landed. That's almost the last bit of mana for Milkman. How much longer can Dilly keep his dreams alive?
Yeah, Casca's Angels though. Foxy, he has the Incarnation. Method Orange, they don't have the Darkness available. Foxy's looking to get really aggressive once that's up, but he's caught into the full bash. They might be able to take him down here. Mana Rift going to be used a little bit weirdly by Trill. I think he dropped on Foxy, so not going to be able to get that off, but Milkman's completely tapped on mana, so doesn't really matter either way. He just wants to burn Foxy's mana, so he can't throw the off heals out. Foxy's still in so much trouble.
All right, there's the bash. Psychic Scream attempt by Milkman. If they get a kill, it needs to be here and now. But Foxy's the one on the back foot. It could be a cross kill potentially. Sea-Doo drops that Spirit Link Totem. He knows momentum is in their favor. They got Milkman on the ropes with no mana. Foxy with no cooldowns. He's on the run. Will he make it out alive? Is the question. Casca's Angels have nothing left. They're battling it out. They want to make it to Blizzcon. They might pull off the miracle. There's an opening here, but the pre-Earthen Wall Totem again from Sea-Doo. They might control him. That gets interrupted. Nice job. Samayam's still low. Foxy low. Milkman's got nothing. Everybody on Casca's Angels is in trouble. Can Milkman pull off the miracle is the question. Adept's up in 10. Do they have a freezing trap before that point? Doesn't look to be the case, and Milkman's tournament dreams are just dwindling away as they make a swap. Tons of pressure. Solar Beam, I-Beam combo, but Milkman denies the kill for a couple more seconds. He's hanging on, but he doesn't got much to work with, and with Trill doing so much damage, there's no way he's making it out alive. Method Orange assert dominance, advancing 3-0.
Method Orange will advance to tomorrow's Upper Bracket Championship Sunday bout with the Gosu crew.
Right now, you want to be looking at their shaman. You want to be looking at the healer on the side of NEET. Some mistakes came through in earlier matchups. Nick was really one of the MVPs of this squad. Will he be able to help carry his team to victory?
Yeah, you guys don't believe in the Jamili Slayer Nick on the Assassination Rogue. Of course, we saw him on the Subtlety before. Now he'll be showing his versatility on the two different rogue specializations in the current meta. We see a Sap going out onto Korlek. They're looking to open up onto Tiber, but he's preemptively bare form. Should avoid a lot of that incoming damage.
Yeah, Swax is actually playing Subtlety in this match, doing a big swap over onto Nick right away. Cyril not pulling the trigger with his ice form, so still has that available for the next go. Korlek dropping that very crucial Earthen Shield Totem. Now that that's out of the way, Shore has an opening to create some huge burst on Nick.
Yeah, that's definitely something they're going to be looking for. They can either open onto Nick or Tiber. It looks like they're just going after Tiber right now. They already forced the Bark Skin. Now they force the Trinket with the Smoke Bomb. 2 Trinkets down on the side of NEET. They force the, of course, Korlex with the Blind there as well. So definitely Tiber could be an opportunity. They get the full Polymorph, force out the Renewal. There's just tunneling down this Moonkin. And I actually like the strategy from the Rogue Mage Druid. It's a very safe and secure one. As long as you can keep Tiber inside that bear form, he will not be putting out that high damage zone.
Yeah, not only that, but he can't get out the key Cyclones that they need to actually close out the game. So keep the pressure on Tiber, keep the pressure on Nick. Here's a nice triple CC. Once again, beautifully done by Shore. Can they take down Tiber right here, right now? He's in a lot of trouble. And Shore, that was very clinical. That was expertly done. And they're going to put the first point on the board.
That was neat.
That was not neat. That was Shore.
That was Shore, dude. Yeah, that was clinical. We haven't really talked about who it favored. The gates are open now. Then, who do you favor with all of this room to prosper?
Well, I mean, obviously NEET thinks that this map is going to work out for them because they picked it, but I'm not as convinced. I feel like Mage Druid does pretty well on this map as well, so I don't think anyone's going to have a huge advantage. One thing that's kind of interesting as well is Nick is opting to play the Assassination spec against Shore, but he played Subtlety, I believe, against the Reject, so a little bit of a spec change there for Nick. He gets a Sap over on Swag, looking to get this game started.
Yeah, I think the Assassination spec speaks to the fact that NEET are expecting this to be a long attrition game, and Assassination, obviously, in that longer game, does more damage, has the healing reduction from Wound Poison, and that's kind of like what they're playing to. They want to make Flop run out of mana, and they're doing a great opener here without using any cooldowns, forcing a ton of damage out, forcing a bit of mana. We can see the reverse go coming out of Shore right now, but the big map, I mean, while it's great for NEET, they're going for this long game, so they pick a big map. The logic is flawless. Flop's just going to go for drinks. He's a Resto Druid playing RMD on the biggest map in the pool. So I don't agree with this map.
All right, fair enough. There's a full blind on the flop right now. Is he going to trink it out? So actually just shadow steps away. Very nicely done, using shadow step defensively instead of offensively. And now Nick doesn't really have a target. I mean, I guess he can open on Cyril, put a little pressure there, but as a Frost Mage, you're feeling relatively safe. And NEET, unfortunately, they're not going to get too much done with this setup. Flop able to comfortably sit all of that crowd control. Cyril and Swag just responding appropriately. They just kited away out of line of sight. And now NEET not pulling out any defensives. They might have to start playing a little defensive here if Shore decides to get aggressive.
Yeah, and to the point we were talking about in the pre-game, Tiber pushing up quite a lot here, forcing the Earthen Shield Totem out from his Shaman, and Swag's just going to sit in stealth, wait for that Earthen Shield Totem to expire, and now as it is starting to expire, they go for the triple crowd control. We see the blind, we see 2 trinkets forced on the DPS of NEET, a slight overlap here as Sarah looks to get the polymorph, well grounded by Korlik though, and that will shut this go down for now, but the double trinket is a big win for sure.
Yeah, Cyril committed his ice form there, and definitely Nick didn't want to mess around with that, but he's forced into his first ice block, so Cyril could be a little bit vulnerable after this. He has one more. It is important to note, Swakty has a smoke bomb, so he can definitely capitalize on a big setup onto Nick. If Nick overextends, he gets caught into a smoke bomb, and Cyril has his damage available. It could be very scary for NEET.
Yep, Tiber trying to go for it. Here comes the smoke bomb from Swax, looking for the kill. There's no Barkskin here, but not enough damage.
I feel like that was rushed. I did not like that use of smoke bomb at all. Like that was the first mistake I've really seen from Shore.
I would like to have just seen them wait for it. They didn't even commit the Shadow Blades. Of course, Ice Form coming off cooldown in about 8 seconds. They didn't have to rush that because they forced the double trinket. They said 2 minutes to do that setup, so slight little over-exaggeration there from Shore, but obviously still looking good in this game. They still have opportunities with those trinkets on cooldown.
Yep, we'll have to see what goes on right now. Sierra, once again, he's extending very far, taking quite a bit of burst, but now Shore looking to get aggressive. Another big swap over onto Nick. Korlik's caught into the stun. He has his trinket. He has Spirit Link. He has to get it off. He trinkets his Spirit Link's way too late. Actually, Nick shadow stepped out of it. That's a disaster for NEET, unfortunately. I don't know if that would have saved him. Probably would have, but...
Yeah,
I want the old Nick back. Where's the sub Nick?
I don't disagree with it that much.
Okay, so getting a little bit more neutral here with Ashmane's fall. Will it be enough for NEET to tidy things up here? Otherwise, we are going to see Shore close this one out in a 3-0.
And you can see it down there at the lower side of your screen. This is an appetizer for what we've got coming up next. Casca's Angels against Super Frogs. But it's Shore, of course, looking to make it through to the Championship Sunday broadcast tomorrow. 2-0 up in this one. And I really do like their Rogue Mage Druid. And it's something we talk about in North America. There aren't so many of those super high caliber Rogue Mage teams, so it's really nice to see the potential coming out from some of these newer players that we've only seen in these broadcasts a couple of times, and these guys have really got something, and let's hope they can make it far in this tournament to stick together and do well.
Yeah, let's see what Shore does. Nick's in a polymorph. Swag looking for a target. Flop gets interrupted there by Tiber. Tiber looking to get very aggressive with that. Zero gets swapped to. He trinkets out, but now Shore decides to put some counter pressure out onto Tiber. Managed to get out the Earthen Shield Totem from Korlik. Now making a swap. Actually, all just playing very defensive. They didn't like that opener very much. They just want to avoid this incarnation. And once that's gone, you can feel comfortable and confident to push forward and know that really NEET doesn't have that much damage for them.
Yeah, and Nick on the Assassination Rig, a good pre-temporal shield coming out from Cyril there. That actually was huge because he got it before the Garrote, meaning that he's going to absorb all of this incoming damage from the vanish of Nick. We saw the blind committed there onto Flop. They're looking for the smoke bomb swap over onto Tiber. Only Barkskin committed so far, looking to hold onto that trinket. Full polymorph over onto Korlik, but Moonkids are quite durable. If he can sit in that bear form, he still has, you can see his other defensive cooldown, the heal there on his bar. He's not even going to have to trade that one out. Actually gets caught up in a cheeky polymorph there. Unusual for a Moonkin to be caught up in that one, Ben.
Yeah, definitely. Zero now into a kidney shot. Looks like Nick and Tiber look for some damage, but a nice Cyclone coming in from Flop will deny that damage, and offense from NEET. So that was nicely done by Flop. Swag just sitting in south, and you can see this is how Shore's going to win. They're going to win with nice crowd controls. They're not going to have super big consistent damage. They need their stun locks, they need their crowd control, they need the burst damage. So Swag, he can afford to just sit in south and wait to pick his moment.
Yep, and we can see Nick being unrelenting, trying to deny that as much as possible. As we see another clean setup coming out of Shore. You can see the triple crowd control there, forcing the trinkets out of both the DPS once again. So now they have a very clear opening here on the side of Shore. This next setup, if they can set it up cleanly, could well be the game, though Tiber will have his Barkskin, so a potential swap to Nick could be on the cards here for this Rogue Mage Druid composition. Swax and Cyril, they're playing on top of Korlik. They're trying to be aggressively positioned so that they're always threatening, always looking for the crowd control so that they can get these goes as often as possible and not not allow the rotation that NEET wants to go into a later game.
Yeah, I like the way Short is playing. It's like I said, it's very clinical. They're not messing around with an assassination rogue, with a Moonkin. They are going to lose that exchange unless they have their crowd control. So I like when they just pull back. They wait for a little bit of a reset. You can see Cyril looking for Polymorph right now. Gets interrupted. Nice win here from Korlik. Nice Cyclone as well from Tiber. Now if they get CC on a flop, this is an opportunity for them to maybe pull out the first ice block onto Cyril, but doesn't look like they're going to be able to find it. Unfortunately, Flop very far away. And if we look at mana, Flop is not doing that great. He's down to around 30% mana. Here's a nice triple setup from Shore once again, blinding up Korlik. He trinkets out. That's a very fair trade, but now we're in a situation where NEET, no one on their team has a trinket, and we have damage coming up for sure. They have the ice form, you know, Shadow Blaze coming up in 45 seconds. They have a window of opportunity where they can easily take someone down. Yeah,
and I would argue that was a small mistake on the side of NEET as well. They trinket for the blind, that's a fair exchange, but they also committed the bark skin to that one, so they won't have anything for this next go, and here it is, Short looking for the setup. Can they follow up? There's no crowd control on Nick, and he denies everything, so a huge play from Nick there, keeping his team in the fight, and that's big because Flop is so low on that blue bar. He's going to start struggling in this game. Iceform was committed to that go van, and they do not find the kill.
Yeah, Korlik, to his credit as well, he preemptively dropped the Earthen Shield Totem, and now Swacked is in a lot of trouble as he runs away. Ironbark has been committed, as well as the Tree of Life from Flop, and this is the last little bit of mana and cooldowns Flop has available for his team. NEET looks like they found their rhythm in this matchup so far. Short's been having to play a lot more defensive. Their setups aren't looking nearly as clean, and I really like the adaptations coming in from NEET.
Yeah, and because he committed the Incarnation there, it means he won't have it for the Incarnation of Tiber, which we now see pop. So the next 30 seconds, this Moonkin is going to be a very scary prospect on the side of NEET. He comes out of the ice block there. Sarah will be on hypothermia. They're looking for the setup, but Trinket and Sparkskin coming out. Here comes the Vendetta. NEET are looking to pick up the game here as Cloak of Shadows traded out on Swacked. I'd love to see them swap over to Cyril, try get a little bit more crowd control into Flop. It could secure the game.
Yeah, Swack's still low. Flop really having to play catch up with the Ironbark, just throwing it out. Unfortunately, not the best moment. Just wanted to top off Swack, but he was in really no threat. Now that's not available for Cyril. They decide to make a swap over on him. Korlik getting caught into the Vortex. Flop looking like he wants to push in for a Bash Cyclone. Unfortunately, unable to find it.
Yeah, he baited out the Earthen Shield Totem by walking in, though. So a big play from Flop there, reading Korlik, and Korlik now won't have that major defensive cooldown available. However, they have got the trinkets rotating back. Trinket Spirit Link, of course, a big one. Here is the blind. They might look for that cooldown here. He trinkets out. Smoke Bomb. I'd love to see the Spirit Link before the Polymorph, but he's able to win shear it. Cheap shot now. This is risky. If they land this Ring of Frost, they could end the game here. Cross crowd control. Nick trinkets out. Tiber in trouble. Caught up in the bear form. Renewal should keep his health stable, and now they can go for the counter push with the beam on Flop.
Yeah, Cyril still looking for the Ebon. Well, Cyril getting low, though. Needs to go into the ice block. He's not going to have another one available for quite some time. And nicely done by Tiber. Still has the bark skin as well. Swack looking like he could be in some trouble, and Flop, he just has no mana to work with. There's the full bash. Temporal Shield's going to be available for Cyril to keep himself alive a little bit longer. Throws out a counter spell over onto Tiber. Tiber, he's relatively safe right now with the bark skin to push in and be a little bit aggressive. I feel like NEET, they really have Short on the ropes at this point in the match. I don't think it's that risky for them to push in.
Yeah, health bars waning on the side of Shore. Mana non-existent. The entire team is dying. Swack 20%, Cyril 50, Flop 50. Flop trying to get away, looking for a drink to restore some of that mana, but he just won't get the opportunity. Tiber and Nick unrelenting. This is their win condition. They've made it too dampening. They know this is where they win the game. They've just got to execute at this moment in time, and they will. And NEET pulls back one map.
And it comes down to having those adaptations. And you called it out throughout the cast, Zico, for anybody who was...
Then you get a Bash Sheep and you win. If Nick trinkets, you can maybe win in the Smoke Bomb. So if Tiber, he can just sit it, bark skin, and then use his renewal, right? You don't force a trinket. The trinket is the main objective here for the Rogue Mage Druid.
And you know what they're going out for? 2-1 elimination series. Shore can send NEET packing here.
Yeah, I mean, they absolutely can. And I mean, sure, they've shown their strategy, right? Like, they could go for the every setup's going to be perfect kill on Nick. And I mean, I completely agree with Zico that that would be a viable swap. Or they can just sit on Tiber, play that slightly slower game where the Moonkin's not doing as much damage, not doing as many Cyclones, and win that way. Definitely both strategies will work. It comes down to them making sure that they're clean, making sure they're playing around these earthen wall totems, and just making sure that they get the crowd control crisply every time.
Yeah, Swag committing his vanish now, throwing a blind on the Corlek. Here's a big setup once again over on Nick. Tiber gets interrupted. Corlek has to trick it out. In the meantime, though, Cyril getting exceptionally low. Ironbark going to get thrown out onto him. Tiber almost destroying him, taking him down to 5% HP, but Tiber could be in a little trouble now, jumping into the Earthen Shield Totem. That should be enough to keep him stable.
Yeah, and they're swapping it over onto Swag. He trinkets out. I think, actually, no, that was the enemy smoke bomb, so the smoke bomb committed by Nick there, trying for that all-in kill with the Incarnation. And this Incarnation from Tiber, if you're playing on the ladder against a Moonkin, watch out for that cooldown. Put him on focus. Make sure you play around that, because it is one of the most scary cooldowns in the game. And Shaw almost paid out for not respecting that cooldown.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question about it. We saw in the previous games, sure, they ran away from the Incarnation. This time, they were able to get so much done. Tiber just really, look at Swag. He has no vanish, he has no trinket, he has no nothing. Here's a setup from Shore. In the meantime, Cyril kidney shot once again, and this setup, it gets denied. NEET's going to be completely fine for now. There's a Cyclone over onto Flop. Corlek's mana is a little bit worse, but I don't think it's really going to matter. Swag could be in some trouble here. He gets bashed up. No trinket available. If he gets caught into a restun, it could be good night for Shore as they look to tie up this series.
Spam purges coming out from Corlek, and that's going to be that.
Yep, you get Innervate from the Boomkin, and that allows you to just spam out those purges that are normally very inefficient. They cost a lot of...
Better and better for them, but I still think that Shaw's got this. I think this Rogue Mage Druid with a little bit more clean play can definitely take this matchup.
Yeah, but NEET, they've been doing a great job. Tiber with that Incarnation has been so deadly, so look for him to generate more pressure. I want to see Shore really respect that a little bit more, play more defensive, because Cyril almost went down in the start of that game trying to get aggressive over on Nick. Tiber had excellent counter pressure.
Yep, so we have to see how the opener looks. The opener last game was fantastic for NEET. They got the Incarnation to full effect, forced a bunch of cooldowns, and more importantly, forced Shore to be a defensive team. This game, it's looking different though. Corlek's already trinketed, caught up in that full polymorph. Now they're getting pressure over onto Tiber, forcing out the Barkskin. Now they forced a bunch of cooldowns. They've got to be respectful of the Incarnation should it come out here. I'd love to see them take up defensive positioning preemptively and set up for that next go.
Yeah, there's a really good opportunity for Shore here. Cyril still has his Ice Form, so a lot of that burst. If they just wait 10 seconds for that Comet Storm Ice Nova to come back up, they get some CC on Corlek, they get some offensive pressure over on the Tiber. That could be an opportunity, but Swag to getting cloned on the kidney shot. Cyril, though, popping the Ice Form. He's looking to get aggressive all by himself on a Tiber, but Tiber, realizing the situation, goes into Bear. They make a swap over on a Nick. Nick trinkets, uses the Cloak of Shadows. He's going to be able to survive, but that was a nice adaptation by Shore when that go got a little bit messed up.
Yeah, that was a really nice adaptation, because I think at first they wanted Corlek, then they're like, okay, we got Cyclone, let's go Tiber, and then they end up going Nick, but they got the cooldown, they got the trinket. So now I'd love to see them return to Nick later in the game. No trinket on him, no trinket on Corlek, but they will of course have to save that counter spell on Cyril to deny the incoming Cyclones from Tiber. That's going to be a big thing to watch, expecting him to hold on to that until their next attempt at crowd control over onto the side of NEET. We'll be watching Swag closely to see how he pushes in on Corlek. You see him running in right now.
Yeah, Nick and Tiber, they're playing defense right now. There's the kidney shot on Corlek. Cyril looking like he wants to land the polymorph. Unfortunately, gets kidney shot, and now Corlek, he's going to be completely fine. That's a cheap shot into Cyclone over onto Nick. Unfortunately, we didn't see Flop get the follow-up crowd control onto Corlek, and now this go from Shore is going to be completely wasted, not able to really pull anything out. It's just so obvious. Corlek, he's just running away from Swag. You have Tiber and you have Nick just playing on top of him to deny any of the goes, and that's the kind of adaptation we needed to see. Corlek once again preemptively dropping the Earthen Shield Totem as they make a swap over onto Nick. He's not in it. A lot of burst damage coming in as they're looking to close out this series. Corlek still into the polymorph. Evasion up for Nick into the Earthen Shield Totem. Tiber throwing out Cyclone, throwing out Regrowth, everything he can to keep him alive. That was a really nice attempt from Shore, but Nick managed to barely escape. But
it's not over yet.
Trouble, yeah.
He's still in trouble. The DR Cyclone comes out. Corlek doesn't want to trinket before the blind. He gets the Spirit Link Totem off. Close call for NEET. And once again, that was a great setup from Shore. Just unfortunately, the Earthen Shield Totem coming down, I think, really was the thing when Nick was able to walk back into that. They're now swapping their damage over to Swag, but shouldn't be anything doing here. You can see a full polymorph landed once again. I'd love to see them go after Nick here. It looks like they're going to. Trinket's still available for Corlek, but he's holding on to that cooldown. He needs to save it for the blind.
Yeah, Swag is reluctant to push in. He's low on HP right now. There's a full Cyclone over on the Corlek. Nick trying to escape the best he can, but he's in a lot of trouble. Cloak of Shadows gets used. Corlek caught into the kidney shot. He still has his trinket. Has Earthen Shield Totem, drops it out. Nick's going to be able to survive, but a nice Cyclone coming in from Flop is going to deny Corlic the opportunity to heal up his team during this ascendance for just a few short moments, finally securing the heals that he needs. Flop's man is not looking good though. Shore is definitely on a time limit.
They definitely are. I mean, they've had a great game, but they haven't quite been able to find that kill so far. Now I'd love to see Flop change his attention, look for those drinks on the map, but it's small, and it's going to make it hard because, of course, the Moonkin will be able to use his Starfall to keep combat on Flop and make it difficult for him to get that reset on his mana pool for the healing going into the later game. They forced the trinket there on Corlic with the blind. That's good for them. There's no Barkskin, there's no trinket on Tiber. He could be a potential swap opportunity, but as Zika was saying with the goalkeeper analogy, as long as one of these guys has their trinket up, they'll be able to potentially stop that incoming crowd control and damage.
Nice Cyclone onto Swag. Look at Tiber doing such an incredible job. Corlic gets caught in the crowd control, but unfortunately Swag was in a Cyclone, but this swap is still huge. A lot of pressure coming in from Serial. I don't think Tiber's going to be able to survive this. Nick with a beautiful Shadow Step kick, interrupting the Ray of Frost. Tiber gets into bear form. Is barely surviving. He actually trinkets out. That was a huge misplay. Corlic was in a polymorph. He trinkets out of the cycle, and that would have just immuned him. He would have been completely fine, but I don't know if Shore's going to be able to completely capitalize on that. It looks like Tiber looking to get aggressive now. Uses the beam over onto Flop, denying the incoming cyclones. He has his incarnation up as well. He's going to be popping that, looking for some counter pressure over onto Swag, who's committed every single one of his defensives as offense.
Yeah, and one of the other things we should talk about there is that Flop did what Restoration Druid should do in Rogue Mage Druid. When his team was playing aggressive, he went to the other side of the map and sat down for a drink. You're not going to kill on every setup, so sometimes use that crowd control to get the free mana back, and that's something they'll need going into dampening. We see once again triple crowd control forced as Serral was using one of his first ice blocks there. They forced the Barkskin on Tiber, and once again they have that little 20-second window. No Barkskin, no trinket on Tiber, and no trinket on Corlic.
Yep. Now it looks like NEET, they want to get a little bit aggressive. Corlic's mana is looking really good, really healthy. The thing is, when you're caught into that crowd control, you're actually regenerating mana when you're not forced to heal. That's one of the benefits, I guess, of getting crowd controlled by a Rogue Mage Druid, is at least you potentially win the mana advantage. So you're looking to get aggressive with the Ice Form now, dropping the Frozen Orb. There's a full blind on Corlic. He trickets out. Tiber could still be in a little trouble. No Earthen Shield Totem going to be available. Corlic smartly runs into the Frozen Orb. That's going to deny any follow-up polymorphs. Smoke Bomb gets dropped. Swacked all alone, no trinket. Has the evasion, has the cloak. Doesn't want to be too greedy here. Flop commits the Ironbark and the trinket and Cloak of Shadows and evasion. That was just way too late from Swag. If he just committed those cooldowns earlier, Flop could have saved basically everything in that exchange.
Yeah, now he has to sit at long crowd control chain. Now NEET get to push forward. This is game 5. The loser of the series is eliminated, and Flop is caught in the hibernate. Fortunately, it breaks. Otherwise, the sleeping on the job would have been detrimental to the team, as we see Kidney Shot over onto Swag. He gets the feint up preemptively on that one, so well played by him, as we see Barkskin forced out on Tiber. It really is all for play for 10% on the dampening counter right now. Kidney Shot over onto Corlic. They're actually making a swap over onto this Restoration Shaman, but I don't think they're going to have quite enough damage. Tiber will be able to get out some Cyclones, help heal for his Restoration Shaman, and Corlic should be fine.
Yeah, Flop, I'm curious to see if he decides to sit down for a drink. Nick and Tiber not really allowing him by making these setups over onto Swacked, and now the Swacked is running away. They can all comfortably push in. Garrote now onto Serial. Short is really running out of time. No Ironbark, no trinket available for Flop. They can make a swap on Swacked or Serial and try to take him down, but it looks like Corlic, he just is reluctant to push in. He wants to, not throw away the game. Doesn't have his trinket available. It looks like now Flop, he's going to be pushing in full bash into Polymorph. Who is the target of choice? Nick gets swapped, but he preemptively Cloak of Shadows, the cheap shot. Very nicely done.
Yeah, and Earthen Shield Totem was put down there as well. We see Swag caught up in the Kidney Shot. He's actually dropping so low. We're in dampening. Flop's out of mana. He's really struggling to keep Swag alive here, but he needs to live. We see Purges coming out, line of sights them. Hex should be able to be decussed, but a nice Cyclone from Tiber, who's pushing in for the kill here. Swag will fall, and NEET complete the reverse sweep and advance to the Championship Sunday.
And, this is a series that really could have gone either way. The way that he's gearing, all of these things, people need to pay attention to things like that, and it's not as simple to pick up, but clean slate here. Casca's Angels versus Super Frogs. If Super Frogs can get the momentum, they may be able to book their ticket to BlizzCon.
I believe Channel was the last North American team to win BlizzCon for quite some time at this point, and he's got to be the last hope here. If he can win this series, he'll be taking that 3rd spot going to BlizzCon. He's forced to switch over to that Balanced Druid specialization. Warlock not in the best position for him to really make it work. Let's see what Chanimal can get done.
I think this is a really good composition for them. I mean, they're going to win the long game. Milkman, when he pushes in, they're putting a lot of pressure on him. I really like that. Punish Milkman. He's very susceptible to magic damage. Wealthy Man putting on a whole bunch of burst, but in the meantime, also taking quite a bit himself. Milkman gets locked out. Chanimal still all over him, looking for the Cyclone, but it seems like Cyfoxy and Dilly looking for the counter pressure onto Wealthy Man. He stabilizes HP. Milkman should be fine out of this. The Ray of Frost gets channeled out. There's a full stun, and now Milkman finally in a position where he can breathe a little bit with this Raptor to top himself off.
He's trying to recover. Interesting that Super Frogs are actually going after the Discipline Priest. Usually a mage and a balanced, you'd expect them to crowd control the healer and attack one of the damage dealers, so they're trying to catch Milkman off guard by going on him. It's a bit of a peculiar target, but they managed to at least pull Rapture from him. I would like them to maybe switch back to a more standard strategy unless Milkman exposes himself in midfield. This polymorph on Milkman is a good opportunity for Chanimal and Wealthy Man to develop pressure on a different target, but their damage is just lackluster at best in this position.
Yep, Milkman getting swapped to once again. At least Super Frogs is defending Cubsy from incoming fears from Milkman. He really has to think twice. He gets interrupted there, Solar Beam as well, and now he's in a position where it's going to be difficult for him to push. There's a full trap onto Cubsy. He uses the adaptation out of that. Wealthy Man uses a nice temporal shield as well, should be able to stabilize. You know, honestly, Casca's Angels, they've been doing a good job, but Super Frogs, if they just live, I think they end up having the mana advantage. Maybe it's pretty even at this point.
It feels like it's pretty even. Anytime Milkman gets polymorphed, he has an opportunity to drop combat, regen mana, and not spend any on any spells. So maybe they could run him out of mana just by attacking him, but Milkman's playing smart here. He's spamming Smite, and he's using Schism, which is very mana efficient to boost the damage of your damage abilities to provide healing to your team through Atonement. So if he plays that way and doesn't spam out Shadow Mends, he can out-mana the Shaman. Dark Archangel attempt here. Crowd control secured. Wealthy Man's in trouble, dipping low. They were not expecting, I think, to be this far behind. Casca's Angel's pressure is starting to sink in. Milkman gets polymorphed away, but he pre-barriered. Unfortunately, Cyfox actually leaving the protection of that shield to try and chase down the mage, forcing a temporal shield and a potential ice block if they want to race against it, but I don't think they have enough damage to do so. Mana tied at this point. It's anyone's match.
Yeah, I like what Casca's Angels is doing. They're doing a sort of a split strategy. Cyfoxy puts bleeds up on Wealthy Man, Dillypoo as well. Both of them have a lot of raw potential, but Milkman in so much trouble. Rapture, Pain Suppression gets used. Wealthy Man blinks in looking for an Ebon Bolt, potentially onto Cyfox. He gets some burst out. Milkman, he really has to think twice every time he gets out of that pillar. As soon as that Frozen Orb gets dropped, he is not getting away from that unless Dilly can throw out a Freedom on him, and that might be something that Dilly looks to do.
Incarnation is up in 20 seconds for Chanimal. It's a deadly spell. Casca's Angels have no answer for it. All Chanimal has to do is stall. So he's using Cyclones to control Cyfoxy, stall out the fight, wait for that opportunity. The slightly light blue bar below Chanimal, that's Astral Power. He can spend that on hard-hitting spells. So he needs to build that up to full, save it, use the Incarn when it's up in 1 more second, and just power down either Cyfoxy or Milkman. Right now they're trying to bait Milkman to go into the middle of the map by pulling back. Chanimal pulls the trigger on the Incarnation. They got Milkman slightly out in center field, but not enough to really take him down, and now Wealthy Man's actually in the back foot. Luckily, Temporal Shield was perfectly timed. He bounces back. This Incarnation not really developing the pressure that Chanimal really needed to get done with it. I would have liked to see them go after Cyfoxy with Milkman playing so far in the back, but unfortunately, Chanimal's not getting anything done with this, and mana is still tied at this point. Dark Archangel pop for Milkman. His team's trying to make a move, taking out Chanimal potentially here. He's going to Bark Skin, deny the kill. At this point, still anyone's match.
Yes, Cyfoxy seems to be the target of choice, but a full Cyclone will deny that. Milkman gets interrupted. That was a full trap onto Cubsy. Wealthy Man and Chanimal's been rotting low this entire game, and Cubsy's been having to spend huge amounts of mana to keep them stable in this matchup. It seems like everyone should be fine except Chanimal's. Luckily, Cubsy's there to throw out some heals. He's going to be fine, and now Dilly and Cyfoxy, they're playing defense for Milkman once again. Wealthy Man, he wants to get aggressive, but they're not allowing him to do so.
All right, Milkman's actually ahead on mana. They can start forcing ice blocks now from Wealthy Man, although the pressure is in favor of Super Frogs. Counterspell secured. Wealthy Man's counterspells have been insane throughout this tournament, really putting enemy teams behind. Nice timed Cyclone here by Chanimal. Cyfoxy's not going to get healed inside of that. Then they get a polymorph on Milkman. Great crowd control. Cyfoxy's forced to retreat. Chanimal moves in to try and finish him off, but Cyfoxy preemptively activates defensive cooldowns to survive. Very unlikely. Maybe it's possible that he dies in this position. He gets Life Grip, but Ray of Frost is being fully channeled. Cyfox is pinned down. He's ducking for cover. Milkman's mana has now evened out as the pressure is starting to mount for the Super Frogs. All the momentum, multiple interrupts. Milkman can't handle it. Polymorph is secured, and Cyfox, he falls. Super Frogs claim game number 1.
And this is the one of the comps that you were potentially asking for here. You said you wanted to see Chanimal on the Moonkin, and we get to see it now. Matter if it's blind, it doesn't matter if they have the comp pick advantage. They're just favored. This is a big one for Casca's Angels. They need to tie up the series here.
Yeah, Milkman pushing in. He actually gets sapped. Maybe they want to open on Milkman. Looks like a flare's going to be coming in from Dilly. Wealthy Man's going to be looking to deny the opener the best he can. Gets the resap onto Milkman. Garrote onto Foxy. And now a cheap shot on Dilly. So Wealthy Man really just controlling everyone up. There's the full blind onto Milkman. Still has a kidney shot available. They could commit it on Milkman if they wanted to and look for an all-in. It would be a little bit risky, but definitely something they could potentially take advantage of.
Kidney shot Solar Beam denies the Discipline Priest from using any. They're going to do it. This is an all-in on Milkman as they look to claim game number 2. Will they be able to support Milkman enough to survive the stun lock wombo combo? Doesn't look to be the case. Super Frogs all in game number 2. 1 game away from BlizzCon.
Well, you were right about that 3-minute thing. That was about 3 seconds, actually. Super Frogs. This could be the map that Super Frogs qualify for BlizzCon on, and truthfully, it seems like
it would be a fitting final resting place as Runes of Lordran is a cemetery. Will Dilly's dreams of BlizzCon be dug into the grave by the Super Frogs, or will he find a way to reverse sweep? This is all or nothing for Casca's Angels.
Wealthy Man opening up, once again playing defense. There's a full kidney shot on the Foxy. Blind on Milkman, he trinkets out, but there's no kidney shot available just yet, so he's going to be safe for a little while. It seems like Super Frogs are changing their strategy up a little bit. They just want to deny the opener from Casca's Angels. Milkman could be in some trouble, though. Wealthy Man already sort of buttering him up here with the Rupture, with the Garrote, getting his damage ready, and Milkman is scared.
He is terrified. That barrier was used in response to no cooldowns from the Super Frogs. You can tell Casca's Angels are sweating. Let's see if the Super Frogs can punish that. They're going to gun down Milkman in the opener. He paint suppressions, predicting a Solar Beam, wants to get that up as soon as possible. Wealthy Man still has not used Vendetta. The next kidney shot could easily close the game. And Wealthy Man is just going to gun down the healer. They've got a 2-0 lead. They can afford to do risky moves like training the healer. Milkman's got all the pressure put on him. Cubsy in the freezing trap. Casca's Angels have an opportunity to swing back. They've got decent pressure right now on 2 members. They need this kill, but there's the swap. Silence kidney shot. Nothing that Milkman can do. He needs his team to help him. He gets out of the silence, catches a heal. Chanimal now on the back foot. Cubsy having a hard time dealing with it. Pops Ascendance. It's a race to the finish. Milkman's still under fire. Star Surge is coming in, and that's going to be it. Super Frogs are going to BlizzCon.
This is so insane to see as well. I mean, it all starts with these teams that maybe we don't know as well, too, starting to set up this scenario. And if it is for North America to be fielding the teams that they're fielding, we kind of have the war of the best going on in the upper final. That's going to be the Gosu crew versus Method Orange, and I feel like this is just a matchup that we have seen 10 jillion times already this year. I forget what the map count actually was in last week's Cup, but it was somewhere in the area of about 15 to 15 or something like that. And now we're going to get to see it again. There's potential for it in the grand final. And now we know that Super Frogs are going to be going all the way to BlizzCon. Over in the